so I can subscribe and also do a little bit of shilling.
All right, we are live.
Oh,
right now. I just went live. Just I'm gonna go ahead and put the link out on my phone.
right.
All right. So, oh, here we go. I got a little bit of a. So, how's your week been?
It's been pretty great, actually. I haven't done much this week, but run errands and crap. But it's been rewarding, man. Like just getting stuff done, and So I wish I could say that like I went on some sort of like, grandiose adventure, but no, man. Just been relaxing, taking care of business, and just having a good time.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I've been working without getting paid, so that's
What?
my week. Yeah, for almost a month now.
You a Fed?
Yeah, I work for the government, so yeah, almost a month now without any pay. So
Jesus Christ,
that's not a pity thing. That's just
no.
Let's see.
But still, that sucks.
Yeah, well, it does suck. I'm not gonna play it. I'm not gonna play it off. It sucks. I mean, me and my wife disagree on the wall. I'm all in favor of the wall, but it still sucks not getting paid.
Right. Yeah. That whole thing, man.
Yeah.
Hey, and that's the thing. I mean, like there are a lot of facets of like the government and shit that we can probably do without all the the shutdowns going on, but there are a lot of good, hardworking people getting caught up in it too. So
yeah, well, I know somebody who's they run a business and they're kind of semi-retired. They kind of run a business from a distance. Like all their workers do all the work, and he owns the business and basically, like I said, he's semi-retired and he just kind of. He's basically the last say whenever they need to do anything for contracts or whatever. He's basically the big signature.
Right.
And a lot of his stuff is government contracts. So while this is all going on, he's not taking a paycheck. Shit. He's the top of the company. So
he's making sure everyone else is taken care of.
Yeah, exactly. He's making sure all his guys are taken care of, and they got money saved up just in case something completely stops.
Right.
Any contracts just have to cancel last minute or whatever. So he's making sure the company has money to make sure everything's covered.
Yeah.
So I mean, it affects everybody indirectly.
Right. And those are the stories, of course, you don't hear about.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all
They're like, oh, it's only 800,000 people, but no, it's actually more than that. And we live kind of close to DC. Yeah. We live, within like a day's jaunt to go see all the stuff.
Right.
And they're getting hit the hardest as far as any city.
Yeah, I can imagine, man.
Because they got all the tourism and they got all the like even the metro is losing I think $500,000 a day, they said, or something like that. Yeah, so they're getting hit wicked hard.
Oh shit. Todd McFarlane.
I'm pretty sure he's not going to show up.
He's too busy making that new Spawn movie, I guess.
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah.
Always pretend to be busy.
I know, right? Like, what the hell is that? You got to sit on your ass and do nothing for a while, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Trying to retweet this. Come on.
Yeah, I have like 3 different computers running.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because otherwise I'm like on the one computer and I'm going back and forth to all these different screens. What I do is I run like the YouTube on my phone so I can see the chat. And then like my wife is my my kind of showrunner and today bartender.
Very cool.
And and then I can look at all the stuff on the computer. If I have to do a screen share or something, I can do that.
Good. Yeah, I've got like 3 monitors here too, and I'm not using any but this one, so I'm not handling the technical stuff, so I'm all good. All right, we got 3 viewers, and I'm sure 2 of them are us.
Yeah, one of them is me for sure, and probably the other one is Mrs. Dave Comics. Yeah, so that's all 3 of us. That's let's see. I think I've topped out at 6 at one point.
Nice.
Oh, we got 4 viewers. We got 4 viewers.
Hey, welcome.
Welcome,
Other
welcome.
viewer, us.
All right, let's see. My first drink, what do we pour here? We got, I don't know, what do we pour, Ange? Is this...
It's vodka and the lemonade.
Okay, yeah, so we poured what we like to call a stiff Arnold Palmer.
Yep.
It's iced tea vodka and some and limeade.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, it's actually it's a nice little refreshing refreshing boozy.
Whereas I, on the other hand, am drinking cheap rum straight.
That is a good idea.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man.
But this is the bad idea stream.
Oh shit!
So I'm gonna take this drink and I'm gonna wash down half a bottle of expired oxycodone. And then I might read me a Gail Simone comic.
Oh, dude, what is wrong with you?
I got into it with her this week. She blocked me personally.
Oh,
it was awesome.
What'd you get her on?
And it was real little too. She was really thin skinned. Like somebody, I don't remember what she was having it out with Mike Barone or something.
Yeah,
Mike Barron, and somebody was doing something, and they were talking about her, and I jokingly, I said something along the lines of, "Hey, you leave her alone. She wrote this woke masterpiece," and all I did was clip the picture of Plastic Man 3, where she had Plastic Man as what's her name? Who?
A woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, damn it. All right. She had her as what's her name with the bulge.
Right.
So all I did was clip that one picture, and then she came back. She went through. She went in my timeline, found my pinned tweet, which is basically like, hey, this is what's going on my YouTube channel. What do you suggest I try next?
Oh,
and she posted it. She didn't even like take a picture of it and quote tweet it or anything. All she did was she wrote it out, and then she was like, "That's the saddest thing I've ever seen."
Oh, Jesus!
And I was like, yeah, I was crying while writing it, and then I laughed because I realized I wasn't writing Plastic Man.
Oh.
And she came back with something else and then blocked me.
Oh shit!
And I was like, wow. I mean, and then other people like jumped on me, were calling me an asshole, and this one girl wrote this really long, like insulting tweet. And I was like, wow, that's the best tweet I've ever got. It was this long hate tweet about me being an oxygen thief and like just this whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know what's worse about Gail Simone, the fact that she's writing comics or that, she's got fans. Like,
they're rabid. They're the worst.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude, she sent her fans on a friend of mine who works on Grade 5, actually. You might know her. She goes by Piper or Fizz Giggity Piper on Twitter.
Piper. There's a Piper. I knew a Piper, or at least not newer, but I remember seeing something about a Piper.
It could have been one of her many, rants about how shitty Gail Simone. I mean, poor Piper. She's getting hit from Renfamous, making fun of her, sexual abuse at an early age and shit.
Jeez.
And a while back, Gail, like, she was a big fan of Gail's, and I think she said something that was really kind of just like not really that big a deal in the scheme of things. I think she commented on something Gail had said or done, and then it was a long, protracted, fucking a hate campaign. Excuse my language. I don't know if we're allowed to curse around here, but
no, that's fine. We'll be drinking. There'll be a lot of cursing.
Right. Oh yeah. But yeah, like, so I just her fans are absolutely rabid, and they have no problem going to bat for their Lady Gail. And meanwhile, I think the reason she thought your little blurb there was pathetic was because the idea of like personal growth and improvement and self-improvement and shit is a foreign concept to her.
Yeah.
She was like, how dare this person try to grow and evolve and
And I straight up, I'm amateur. I've not published, and I'm trying to write comics and stuff. So I'm straight up about it. I'm not one of these guys that's like, oh, I'm a fancy whatever writer,
right?
And she totally she tried to dunk me on that, and then other guys and some of her fans. Did you hear Ethan called her fans Gail Cada? He was talking about, he was like, yeah, in the industry they call him Gail Cada.
Oh,
But yeah,
great.
so they were all dunking on me. Oh, he's never written anything and blah blah blah. And he's like, and I kept trying to respond to people, but they'd be deleting the posts or blocking me before I could get to them.
Oh,
so there was this one girl. She's like, oh, you've never written anything, you've never contributed anything, blah blah. And he goes, all these people are always anonymous because they don't want to. And I said, how do you know I've never written anything if I'm anonymous?
Right. And not only that, but like, I loathe the idea that you have to be accomplished at something to critique it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I would like to think the fact that I was a lifelong comic fan and I know what I like is enough for me to, be able to critique this shit. But, you talk to people's fans like Gail's fans and, they're that seems to be their go-to most of the time. Like, they don't have anything but that, because how can you defend Gail's work? It's, I mean, look, that's just a retarded person being given an award. It's like, well, you kind of smile at it for happening, but at the same time, you're just like, okay, well, good for you, kid.
Yeah. I used to follow her when I first got on Twitter, because I was like, well, I followed a lot of the pros before they started being shitty to me.
Right.
And so I followed her, and oh my god, her posts were the most vapid. Like, I don't know how many times she posted about Godzilla taint.
Oh,
and it was like, what? I was like, what the hell is this? Like, nothing she posted was of like any value. Not true. And it kills me. She posted this big long thing last year, I think, and it was about dialogue and stuff, and it was actually really informative and really good. And it was about stop using Buffy speak kind of stuff. Right. And everything. And I was like, wow, that's actually pretty good. And she had some respect for it. But then you read what she writes, and that's the way she writes. Right. I mean, she does exactly what she tells you not to do.
Right. Yeah, because she lacks the self-awareness to realize that. And, she thinks she's hot shit for being given a gig because she wrote about some, what was it, the fucking fridge shit?
The fridge.
Like women in the fridge, as if like male characters had been, used, for tragedy or to propel the story, forward and shit for eons and stuff. Like, yeah, it was the worst sort of clueless feminist drivel, and that got her a comic gig. And I almost feel like at the time they gave her a job, it was almost like, let's get this woman writing comics instead of complaining about them.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, when they give a person a gig for kind of slightly looking like the character.
Oh.
Yeah, I feel like Gail's existence as a comic writer is owed less to talent, perhaps, than it is just,
It's, for some reason, I don't know, her name got popular. Man, I don't know. I don't think I've read any of her older stuff. I actually was out of comics for a long time.
Same here.
So, I mean, I knew the name. I guess, I don't know, and I don't remember where I first heard it. But I was like, and that's why I started following her. Right. And then I stopped following. And then after, a while, I just stopped. I didn't block her, but I stopped following her. And I tried to kind of stay out, because I was like, yeah, for the most part, people, I let, if they want to be assholes, let them be assholes. I don't have to respond to every asshole comment, because, this would become my job.
Right.
If I did that.
Besides,
so I don't really respond. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I just get a wild hair up my ass. But
yeah.
But
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, but so I pretty much stayed off her radar, and then this week I just managed to hit her just right. And it's why everybody was calling me an asshole, and I was like, what? And I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, it was a little joke, but I'm like, it's not like I cussed at her or whatever. I made a little bit of fun of one of the things that she wrote, and that was the end of it. She couldn't handle it.
Yeah. Well,
I think it was on her. I think it was on her tweet about like, oh, I remember. It was because she said she was talking about comic skaters in general, and she's like, "Are you all like?" She asked straight up, "Are you all idiots?" I think that was her post, and it was almost word for
Wow.
word. So I think that's probably what I was kind of responding to.
Right. No, I would have done the same probably. You know, I mean, look, just because I legit am an idiot, you know, doesn't mean I want some, you know, has-been comic book writer telling me that. You know?
Yeah, I know, right?
Nah, but yeah, Gail, I think at this point the list of people who haven't run afoul of her, you know, over some insignificant thing or another is smaller than the folks, you know, the list of folks who have.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm always talking to people who have their stories, you know, like my friend who, you know, was like it was a total. I don't remember exactly what she said, but I remember when she was telling us that she actually talked about it on Graded Point 5 once, which you should go check out if you haven't.
On what now?
Graded Point 5, it's our YouTube channel.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I haven't been really active with it because I tend to be really bad in group conversations. But yeah, she was telling us this story about how, you know, she inadvertently ran afoul of Gail, and Gail sent all her fans after her and shit, you know. And it wasn't like the SJW types usually frame it, like how, you know, people deciding completely on their own to go to bat for a friend is considered, you know, organized harassment. It was literally like she said something that, you know, incited, you know, a protracted harassment campaign.
Every response I got from one of her fans was 10 times or more worse than what I posted.
Right. And, you know, and in that respect, I guess she's not really responsible for her fans. Like, she can't control the severity of their fanaticism, but she knows that she's got her fanatics, and, you know, I don't know. She's just a horrible person, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, one thing for thee and not for me.
Right. And
she wouldn't denounce any of those people. She would say the same thing we would say. Well, I have nothing to do. I don't agree with this person. I got nothing to do with this person. He may call himself, you know, Comics Gate or whatever, but I have no idea who he is. How am I going to control what he says?
Right. And the thing is, she shouldn't have to, right? Like,
yeah.
But that's her standard at the same time, you know? It's everybody is responsible for everybody who might follow them. Yeah. I like that ringtone.
That's my wife. On my phone, when I get a notice, it does the, hey, listen.
Oh, yeah. The Ocarina of Time thing. That's not at all obnoxious. Why would you do that to yourself, Dave?
Well, it's very few things that actually come through with that.
Yeah.
I can't control what it is. It's like sometimes I don't know why. I think it's whenever I get, like, when somebody posts a new YouTube video or something, then it'll possibly come up. And sometimes it's like when I get mail when I get a DM, I get the notice, but regular Twitter notifications, I don't get anything. So
yeah,
I don't know. I get it so rarely that it doesn't bother me too much.
Now, see, I had to turn that shit down because I follow a lot of folks who, you know, one person in particular starts a lot of threads every day about, like, one thread every day about, like, your 4 favorite characters of this genre or whatever. It's all good stuff. It's all really fun. And, you know, if I wasn't such an indecisive bastard, I might actually participate in them more. But they get tons of replies, so I have to sometimes mute notifications.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because otherwise my tablet won't stop yelling at me. Jeez. But it's not a bad problem to have, I suppose.
Yeah. Do you follow 80s then, 80s now?
No.
They do. They've been doing this thing lately where they take 4 movies from the 80s, and they're like, you can only pick one, and the rest have to go away forever. Like, they're going to burn all the copies. See, and they've been getting harder and harder. And today they posted, it was like Return to Oz, which is like, yeah, okay, you can get rid of that one. But then the other ones were like The Lost Boys, and there was two other movies. And I'm like, why would you get rid of these? You know, so I was like, fine, Lost Boys. I hate you.
Oh, shit. That's a hard choice to make.
Yeah.
But Return of Oz, man, like, what did that have going for it aside from Farouja Balk? You know, like,
yeah, I mean, that one wasn't particularly a great movie, but I mean, there was other ones where, like, it was, I can't remember, it was like Bill and Ted's,
Oh, Jesus! Don't ever
and
ask me
I
that
can't
question.
remember the Goonies and
Oh God,
Indiana Jones and something else. And I was like,
Dude.
what are these choices? I mean, I
Yeah.
couldn't get rid of any of these movies.
Dude, they're giving you Sophie's Choice.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Yeah.
And I couldn't believe how big of a struggle I had with it. I was like, oh my, like it's like it's just movies. But then you think about it, you're like, oh man, I remember seeing this movie in the theater when I was a kid.
Yep. Well,
And it was like, oh man, yeah, I remember like most movies, I didn't go see when I was a kid, I didn't go to the theater a lot, but I remember riding my bike to the VHS rental place, the video rental store.
yeah,
And renting videos all the time. And I remember stuff like Monster Squad and
yeah.
and I think I saw Lost Boys on the first place I saw all these things was renting them from the video store.
Same here. And that was actually my first exposure to Howard the Duck as well. I was living in foster care at the time, and the foster dad was like a huge Howard the Duck fan, man. Like, and he rented that movie, and so even though it like sucks, and there's bestiality,
there's duck boobs in it.
Yeah, there's duck boobs, yes. But no, it does hold a special place in my heart, man. And just for the Dark Overlord, thing.
Yeah.
I am the Dark Overlord.
That was it's a terrible movie, but it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that's so bad it's good. Like it's fun to watch, and Leah Thompson's cute. And
oh yeah, Leah Thompson was hot in that movie.
Yeah, and but then there's duck sex, and then you go, okay, that's the thing.
It's implied though. It's only implied duck sex.
Right. And in fact, didn't they get interrupted?
Yeah.
Yeah. By what was that? Tim?
Oh, Tim Roth, not Roth.
Rice. Tim Rice. Who's Tim Rice?
No, what was his name? Tim.
Isn't he married to Susan Sarandon?
I think so. Tim
Cook. Tim.
God, he was the Hudsucker proxy guy, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't think of his last name for the life of me. Tim Robbins.
Yeah, that's him. Man, the Hudsucker was another great movie, dude.
Oh yeah, I saw that once, I think, and I thought that was really good.
Yeah, it's worth checking out every couple or few years or so.
Yeah. Well, I'm a huge I think the greatest franchise. They aren't the best movies ever made, but I think it's the best franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Is Tremors.
Oh God, I love Tremors.
And it's only not because they're the best movies. It's because I think they know what they are. And they're kind of self-aware. The cast when they made the first one, I got the impression they all looked at the script and they're like, "Oh yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I know what this is. This isn't a serious movie. It's a horror movie. It's a monster movie, but it's not really a serious movie." So they had fun with it. So that first movie, they kind of had fun with it.
Right.
And I think all of them are kind of have that sort of self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
At least they have that vibe to me. Like I said, I don't think they're all the greatest movies ever made, but I think as a franchise, I think they all stick to the plot.
Oh,
as far as the tone of the movies,
right.
I think they're the most consistent.
The last I saw was Tremors 5.
Which one was that? The one with that comedian guy?
I don't know. It
was his son.
Who's the guy? Michael something or other is the guy who plays Burt Ward.
Yeah, Burt Gummer.
Burt Gummer, and he's always Burt Ward. I'm talking about the fucking Robin guy from the '60s Batman TV show. Yeah, but Michael Grossman, I believe. The guy who's on Silver Spoons or Family Ties or whatever back in the day.
Michael Gross. That was Michael Gross.
Michael Gross. Yes. Yeah. And he's been in just about every one of them, hasn't he?
Yeah, he was in all of them, and he was in the TV show.
Yep.
And they were talking about doing another show.
Yeah.
And they were going to have. They actually had what's his name on board? Bacon. Kevin Bacon. He was actually on board. I think he was going to be a producer and be in the show, and then they tanked it, I guess, before it got made.
Did you see the trailer for that?
I think so. I remember that it was going to be made, but I don't know if I saw the trailer for it.
Right. Well, you should hunt that down. It actually looked really promising. I would have been on board for it.
I like the TV show was actually pretty good. I remember it. It even had Doc Brown in it, I think.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, he was like the whole premise of the TV show was that there was some secret lab, like government lab, that was in the area of the town, and so that's how they got a monster of the week instead of always having to deal with the worms.
Right.
They had like the secret lab, and he was the mad scientist that was in charge of it. So that's how they got their monster of the week. But then the show didn't last very long. I think it lasted like one season.
Weren't some of the graboids actually introduced in that show that went on to be in the movies?
One of them that was in the movie, I think they called him like El Blanco or whatever. I think he was introduced in the movie, but he was in the series.
Now, it's been a while since I've watched Tremors. Was there a graboid called a ass blaster or something like that?
Yes, they had. Well,
like
they went through the life cycle. It was like they had the big worm, and then it would lay eggs and make tiny little worms. And then when the little worms, I guess they would die or something, and then these screechers would come out, and they were like little two-legged things that would run around,
right?
And they would scream, and they could like see heat and stuff. And then I don't know exactly what happened, but they would somehow have a baby, and it was this flying thing called the ass blaster.
Yeah,
and it was like it would like shoot out fire out of its ass and like shoot in the air.
Yes, exactly.
And that was So I think one of the best lines of that movie was they started calling him ass blaster. He's like, "Oh, it sounds like a gay porn."
Right. I liken the Tremors to like Ghoulies. You know, something that kind of. Was it Ghoulies? That kind of it had like 4 movies, maybe went a little too long, but all of them
Critters.
Were kind of fun.
You think Critters?
No.
Was
Critters,
there? Oh, wait, that's right. There was. I remember Ghoulies did have it. They had at least 2.
There's 4 of them.
Are there 4 Ghoulies?
Yeah.
Because that one I kind of liked.
Yeah.
That one.
But yeah, I believe that Critters only had the 2. Well, no.
No, Critters had at least 4, and they're working on. They have a web series. And they're working on a new, I think Sci-Fi Channel is working on a new, I don't know if it's a reboot or what, but they're going to make a new movie about it too. A new Critters movie.
Wow. I do remember, and you know what? Critters does have 4 movies. That's the one I'm thinking about. Yeah. Yeah. Because I have the Critters. I have them all. I don't know. I got a web server set up. I rip all my DVDs and stuff to files and you can use the Roku with a Plex server to watch it. And so,
Critters 2 had introduced who's that actor I can't think. He was a kid back then, and it was his first movie, and he's famous now. He was in like Wolf of Wall Street. And Leonardo DiCaprio, yeah,
really,
he was like one of the kid. He was the kid in one of those.
Really,
yeah. There was one where they were in like a sky ride, some kind of apartment building or something. I don't remember which one it was. It was 2. I think it was 3. That he was in that one.
I still, even though I've had them for a while, I still haven't watched 2 and 3. You buy those packs at Walmart and you get like all 4 movies, together.
Yeah. Oh, there's boobs in 2. How can you not watch that one?
Well, aren't there boobs in the first one too?
I don't know.
Like
that girl. There was one. It was like a parody of all those little creature movies called Munchies.
Yeah,
and it was a really cheesy, cheap parody of all those movies. And the girl from Critters was in that one too. The girl that was his sister from the first movie.
Nice. I just remember, man, one of the scenes that strikes me, that sticks in my mind is, remember how there was that one alien that could like turn into things, and he found that Playboy. And then he's pulling staples out of his stomach.
That's the one. That was from the second one. I remember.
That was the second one?
That was the second one.
Was that the one where they attacked?
And the first one, the one guy turns into the rock star, and the other guy at the end turns into the like town drunk that worked at the farm.
Right.
So he changed his face into him. I think that might have been the second one that he did that in.
Could have been. I mean, dude, it's been a long time since I've watched any of them, but I mean, I have a tendency to do that, man. Like back when I had money, I would collect all these movies and stuff from like my childhood and whatever, and never actually get around to watching them. So
I started a little bit. Like I got Better Off Dead. And what I do is I have 2 teenagers and a really young one. So like every once in a while I'll be like, all right, it's time to watch real movies. So we got like The Last Starfighter and
great
Better
movie.
Off Dead. And when my son was younger, I actually introduced him to this. I mean, it wasn't an 80s movie, but it was what's the something boy. The one with what?
Astro Boy.
Not Astro Boy, yeah, but that's not the one I was thinking of.
Did you like that movie, by the way? Before?
Astro Boy?
Yeah.
We just watched that one the other day. It was on Netflix or Amazon or something.
It was Netflix, yeah.
Yeah, we watched it the other day. Our 6-year-old really loved it.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's always benefit when one of the little ones likes it.
That's the same studio who did the computer generated Ninja Turtles movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Imagi. They actually had a Ocarina of Time pitch as well that never got picked up.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm so surprised. It just shocks me, and maybe I'm just not in. I'm not. Have they done like a Zelda anime?
No,
I honestly don't know. I know they have a manga. My oldest loves it.
Yeah,
the manga or manga. I'm surprised there has not been a live action movie yet. It actually kills me. To me, if you're gonna make a movie, that's a good adventure movie.
It would be.
If you're gonna make a good video game movie, that would be the one to go with.
Well, I've heard, around the grapevine that Nintendo is looking to delve into film, and that I guess they're doing another Super Mario Brothers. This one is probably gonna most likely be animated.
Hopefully,
I don't know. I'm sure you had, being a child of that era. You saw the
original Mario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
I remember.
I love that movie because if it wasn't a Mario Brothers movie, it actually had some, and especially if you know the history behind it, it actually had some pretty interesting stuff in it. It just wasn't Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, I remember watching it, going, that doesn't seem right.
Right?
No, none of that makes any sense.
Oh, but I was such a geek for that stuff when I was a kid. I had to see the Street Fighter movie in the theaters. I had to see Mario Brothers in the theater. I didn't see Double Dragon though. In fact, to this day, I still haven't.
I think I've seen I don't remember if I've seen Double Dragon or not. Tommy Boy, that was the one I was trying to think of.
Yeah,
Tommy Boy was the one I let my son watch.
The one with what's Chris Farley?
Chris Farley. What?
Yeah.
6-year-old?
No, Patrick.
Yeah.
No, I didn't let the 6-year-old watch Tommy Boy.
Oh crap!
Although I did introduce my oldest to. We watched Aliens.
Nice.
And Predator. So
Very cool.
Because I was like, all right, these are the good movies, and this is why. So I had to talk him through why. So I probably ruined it for him.
Yeah, that guy just lost his arm, but it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, my son preferred Aliens. Aliens it's probably the better movie, but Predator is when you think about it, movies like Predator, it's the same plot as like Die Hard essentially. It's the one guy up against the whatever the bad guys are, the bad guy. But I mean, I'm trying to introduce those movies. I got to introduce them to Rocky. I got to find all the manly movies to introduce them to.
The Rocky movies are excellent. So yeah, man.
So yeah, that one's kind of tough because that one's there's fight scenes in obviously, but it's not a whole lot of action
too.
Yeah, there's a lot of drama. So it's hopefully I can get him into that, or at least get him to watch it all the way through.
Yeah, Nintendo is definitely very protective of its properties, and probably even more so since the Super Mario. I mean, the fact that they never did another movie again, since yeah, and man, but the thing that Predator and Alien I think have in common, Aliens was more of a balls out action flick, James Cameron balls out action flick, which is like the best kind. Yeah, but the first movie and Predator, they played it smart by not showing too much of the creature
until it was really time to do it.
Right. And that was the thing. They built up this suspense. You got little tastes of it, like in Alien through the face huggers and the chest bursters and stuff. Like, so you got a taste of something that was going on, and But yeah, they didn't blow their load early, and that's something I think a lot of movies could stand to do. Is
No,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I'm done.
I think there was a Korean movie called, I think it was called The Host.
Hmm.
Could be wrong about what it's called, but it was a monster movie, and it was about I don't remember, some kind of mutant fish or something, and it ended up all these chemicals, and it was standard stuff. But it was one of the famous things about the movie is that it introduces the monster almost right away. Like within the first, I think, 15 minutes of the movie, you see the monster, but the story is more about like the monster attacks, and it's this guy this guy who's kind of a loser, and his
Right.
little sister, and he's trying to run away from the monster, and he's trying to save his little sister, and he grabs her hand and he pulls her out, and he pulls her away and runs away and hides, and then realizes the little girl he grabbed wasn't his sister.
Oh, shit.
So his sister gets taken by the monster. So the rest of the movie is him trying to find where the monster is so he can go, and like I said, he's a total loser, and everybody, he works at like his dad's like food stand or whatever, and his dad's always calling him a loser and stuff like that, and he's just and he finally sets his mind. He goes to go find his sister.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, I think it's called The Host, but I could be wrong. It was a really good
right.
movie.
It's called The Host. Yeah. It sounds vaguely familiar.
There's a lot of, actually, like, I think there was another Korean movie. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot.
Right.
There's another, but what surprised me is the couple of movies I saw that were have you watched any like Norwegian movies?
Not intentionally, which isn't to say I don't want to.
It was. I mean, I wouldn't go out of my way. If somebody said, "Oh, this movie is Norwegian," I wouldn't go out of my way to see it. But there's two movies, kind of three, but there's two. One of them was Rare Exports, and it's a Christmas movie. It's basically a Christmas horror movie, and it was based on a short film that some guys made, and basically in the short movie they go out in the woods and they hunt down Santa Clauses. Like there's like these old guys that live out in the woods, and I guess they're elves, quote unquote, and they hunt them down, and then they take them and they train them to be Santa Clauses, and then export them out around the world to work at malls and shopping centers and stuff. And then I mean, it's just like a joke, funny kind of thing. Yeah. But they made this movie called Rare Exports, and what it was there's this big mound in Norway or Finland, wherever they are, and they think it's a mountain, but it turns out it's it's like a burial mound. And the one kid thinks Santa Claus is buried there. And there's an oil company that digs into it, and they find this thing frozen in the ice, and all of a sudden everybody's wiped out. And all of a sudden, all these, like, out of the blue, in this little town where this kid lives in, every year they do they herd the reindeer. They herd the reindeer and they sell them at market, and all the reindeer are dead. The whole freaking herd is dead. So what they do is the kid's like, "Oh, Santa Claus did it," and they're like, "What the hell are you talking about, kid?" And then they set a trap, and they catch one, and it's this old, like, naked dude with a white beard and stuff. So like, what the hell is going on? And throughout the town, all the kids are getting kidnapped, and all, like, the stoves and heaters are being stolen out of people's houses. And it turns out the whole thing. I don't know if you want to watch it anyway, so I won't spoil it too much. But basically, it ends up, the very end of the movie ends up a lot like the little mini short. But there's a lot more to it. It's actually it was a really good movie, and it was Norwegian. And another one I saw was Troll Hunter. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
I have heard of it.
That one's on Netflix, and that one's like a monster comedy kind of movie too. And again, I think they were talking about optioning that one here in the States and remaking it. But that one, like I said, two movies from Norway, I was like, what the? I mean, you wouldn't think Norway would have this big cinema thing, but they were actually really good movies.
Speaking of Norway, and I might be mistaken, but there's a show called what's it called? Norseman.
Oh my god, that's hilarious!
Isn't it?
I saw it. I watched all the way through it. I binged the hell out of it when I first started watching it.
Yeah, my mom actually came across it, and she was like, "Dude, you need to watch this, son." And it's great. I love it.
I kept passing it. And I kept thinking because there's other Viking shows out, so all I thought was it was another another Viking drama.
Same here. I thought the exact same thing, but then it turns out to be so much more.
Come on, it's like The Office in Viking time.
Right. Oh man. Yeah, that one's good. And to anyone who might be listening to this, which is fewer people than before, but yeah, go watch Norseman if you can. I believe it's on Netflix, right?
Yes, it's on Netflix.
Yeah,
and I think they're waiting on the next season. I watched it all the way through and thought it was one season, and somebody's like, "Oh, you gotta watch the second season." I'm like, I didn't think there was one. Yeah. And then I looked. I said, "Oh, I watched." Because I binged it straight through. I thought it was all one season.
It's a great show, worth watching for sure.
Oh man.
But yeah, so we've kind of geeked out over movies and stuff, which we got to do again, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you want me on a stream and I'm not doing something else, I'd be glad to hang out.
Yeah,
so
yeah, absolutely. There's
I haven't got to do this in a while, man. Just hang out with somebody and geek out about stuff.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Oh yeah,
it's fun to just talk about fun stuff every once in a while.
It is.
I mean, there's a lot of serious stuff going on, but
like the Gillette ad.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the ad that presupposes, that men need to do better. On the whole, the cringy shit. Huh?
And the people are like, oh well, everybody that's it's about a commercial. No, it's not about a commercial. It's about the principle. It's right. I mean, because you had that, and then you had the PETA ad. I don't know if you saw that.
I haven't seen that one. No.
Oh my god, the PETA ad is terrible.
Ooh.
It's basically like, because it's PETA, so it's like, oh, eat veggies and it'll increase your masculinity and increase your sex drive and all this other stuff. And the video is all these dudes dancing with vegetables like stapled to their junk.
Oh, Jesus.
Right, and they're all like dancing, and I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like you look at it, and it's trying to like, oh, this is this will make you more masculine. You look at all the people they have in the ad, and you're like, I don't want to be like any of these people.
Well,
I don't know why that's supposed to convince me to your side. Right. This is ridiculous.
Not only that, but I read a study that says that like a strictly vegan diet actually lowers your sperm count. So
well, I just saw a post about that too. Somebody posted, and it was like the doctor said I should stop being a vegan because my lower sperm count.
Yeah.
And so I said, fuck that doctor. My girlfriend still has a high sperm count.
Yes, so. Yeah. My girlfriend's sperm is so good is good enough that I don't mind being the father of somebody else's child or something like that.
It's like a fire hose of stupidity,
right?
And especially their attack. I mean, the attack is so like, it's a hate men attack, and it's almost like it just started. I mean, obviously there was a little bit of it. I mean, we could all see the lead up. Right. But it just suddenly, for whatever reason, the year hit, and it's like, all right, that's going to be this thing this year, is we hate men. Men are terrible.
Right.
And that's going to be the theme of the year.
And there was actually plenty of that last year and the year before even, but then Trump, he's become but no, we've seen tons of articles saying like masculinity is bad. White men in particular, straight white men in particular, are somehow responsible for all, humanity's ills and shit. And as a guy who's got some mental problems himself, seeing that I can brush it off, sure, but maybe the next guy can't. And the APA is adopted guidelines that basically push sexism and say that men should deal with their emotions more like women, and stuff like that. And like, but women can be as crazy as men. Like, it's a human being problem, not a gender problem. This is
the thing, is that their complaint is men aren't as in touch with their emotions, quote unquote, as women.
Right.
But here, biologically, men are I think the number they throw out is 50% generally stronger than women. The average man is stronger than the average woman. Do you want that guy being an emotional wreck all the time?
Yeah, right.
Do you want the average man who is stronger than the average woman to constantly be reacting to his emotions in any kind of physical way? No, you don't want that. I mean, that's because they don't want to acknowledge that men or women are different. But
yeah,
if you don't, then you're going to have these problems.
right. And besides that, though, you know, the idea that maleness in and of itself is inherently like one of their examples was during the boys be boys thing was kids wrestling. Okay, so like I don't know, they're just
brothers wrestling is how I don't have a brother, but brothers wrestling is how guys learn to defend themselves.
Exactly.
It's better to learn that thing, learn how to fight with somebody doesn't really want to hurt you or isn't going to go all that way. That's the guy that you're going to learn. You're going to learn your fancy moves or whatever it is. You might learn a little thing that's like, oh my god, this worked on my brother.
Right.
This worked on my friends, on my buddies. We used to wrestle all the time or whatever. This worked on them. If I ever get, and you're not going to say that consciously. Nobody does that consciously. But if you get into a fight in the street, it might hit you. You know what? This worked on that guy. Maybe it'll work on this guy too.
Right.
So it's not professional martial arts.
Right.
But you didn't have professional martial arts for thousands of years,
And the thing is though that people like to pretend, but we are sophisticated animals. A lot of the way we act and shit is all just instinctual, and so and I've read stuff on body language and watched body language and how that informs subconscious reactions and stuff like that, and the takeaway is that essentially think about it in the way that a cat needs to be with its litter until it's 8 weeks old. It's not just for it to grow up. It's for it to learn how to be with other cats and learn how to be a cat in general. And that's people too. Us boys scuffle, but at the end of the day, some of my best friends growing up were people that I met getting into a fight with.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
because it's also a bit of learning to respect. Because it doesn't seem respectful if you're, guys wrestling and whatever. But if you can both walk away and you can both say, you know what, that guy took me down pretty good or whatever. And if you can both just kind of admit that, yeah, he got me, then that builds that kind of mutual respect.
Right. And when I was a kid, there was a kid up the block. I used to live on Elm Street with when I was in foster care with a family named the Krugers, which was fucking hilarious. But every day there was this kid down the block. We would get in fights with him. We'd start out playing, and then he'd do something, and then we'd get into fights, and then at the end of the day, we're like, see you tomorrow. You know what I mean? Yeah. It wasn't anything. It was teaching us how to be scrappy and and shit. And now, remember when shaving used to be a rite of passage for a teenager? Oh, I'm shaving now, and my dad's showing me. This is a bonding moment.
Yeah.
They're presenting it in such a way where, they take all of that out. Again, masculinity in and of itself isn't the problem. There is no such thing as toxic masculinity any more than there is toxic
femininity.
Right. But there is just toxic people.
Exactly.
And so this whole ad, and of course, did you see who was behind it?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw there was at least big woke whatever.
Yeah.
She did some other ads in Australia,
right?
That were all soy boy.
right. So and the thing is, we've seen this in the media. People talking about toxic masculinity, how being a straight white male is somehow the harbinger of death, destruction, and doom, and all that shit. Yet a lot of the behaviors a lot of the traits that describe or described as masculine are beneficial to women. The fact that in most situations we'll totally ignore a man getting abuse heaped on him in public, but when a woman gets abused by her significant other or boyfriend or whatever, we men intervene on her behalf. We are it is in our blood to be protective of the fair sex, and that is, I think, a quality people should be nurturing rather than trying to strip us of. They want us to become these sexless, genderless, hormoneless things, and they try to shame us into conforming to that weird ass fucking lifestyle. And I wonder what the fuck has happened to the world in the last 10 years,
The behaviors they describe as toxic masculinity, stuff like bullying and sexual assault
robots
and those kind of things, those are behaviors that are around because you want to control another person. It's cowardice, because both of those behaviors involve picking on somebody weaker than you.
Mm-hmm.
That is not masculine. That is not a masculine thing.
Oh no.
Masculine thing is not picking on somebody weaker than you. That is cowardice, and cowardice isn't masculine.
Right.
So when they call it toxic masculinity, because I mean, that's what girls do. And when girls generally bully, it's more psychological.
Yeah.
But what do they pick on? They pick on the girl that looks like, she's kind of weak-willed, or they perceive as having a weak personality, or whatever, somebody who's not going to fight back,
or the men in their lives who likewise won't fight back. Yeah, like my sister-in-law. I'm not going to name names so nobody can harass her, but she's they're on their fourth kid already, and her hormones are leading her to be absolutely awful, to the point where she's threatening to divorce my brother for nothing. Like, she's being a little bit emotionally manipulative, a little bit abusive, and shit. And I wouldn't say that that's toxic femininity. I would just say that's, I wouldn't even say that's necessarily her, because it isn't. But it is a complex set of circumstances that people would need to look into, rather than make snap judgments based on the genders of the parties involved. And that's what we're seeing now, is people making those judgments based on gender, but only doing it one way. Like, men are apparently, like, the takeaway from feminism and suffrage and all that shit wasn't that, like, we need to ensure equal rights for everybody. It was, we're going to get society into a position where we can, treat men the way we felt like we were being treated, and they have to take it. And that's not how it works.
Yeah.
So fuck it.
Yeah, I don't know. It drives me crazy, because, like I said, I have two boys I'm raising.
Right.
So I'm trying to make sure, they're doing the right things, and what they're saying is, if you're teaching your boy this way, you're part of the problem. Like, no, you don't understand what the problem is. Gillette doesn't understand their customer base if they let that go through. Again, people, they're crying over a commercial. It's not about a commercial. It's about a product not understanding their customer base, and it's about trying to change the culture.
Right.
Because what they're trying, because they straight up say it. Oh, it's a new masculinity. No, there's no new masculinity. Men have been a certain way since, the beginning of men and women, and that's just the way they are.
Right. They're trying to create new males.
Yeah. They want this, like, whole, like, and what you get is these guys who are allies, quote unquote, and they're the worst of the bunch.
Yeah.
Because they act all the way that supposedly they're supposed to act. They say all the right things, and then they can go around, and do that the toxic behavior and not get called out on it.
Because
they're saying all the right things publicly.
Well, and even when, in cases they jump on women and treat them like shit and stuff, it's always because those women are, they say they're fake, they're gender traitors or whatever. These men are allowed to treat women like feminists only imagine most women treat men, and they could do it with impunity because they call themselves feminists, they call themselves woke or whatever. And that is the great irony in all of this. Is it seems to me through observation that most of these people are only involved in these matters because it allows them to treat other people like shit with impunity. Like, you know, as long as you're on the right side of quote history or whatever, quote right side of history, whatever, you can do and say and treat. You can call people house niggers. You can say, oh, sorry.
Oh, now they're going to demonetize me.
Right. Sorry about that. But I'm saying you could call them Uncle Toms and race traitors, and you can say they're internalizing racism or misogyny or whatever, and that's perfectly fine, you know, because they're inconvenient to your narrative. And but like, you just say, I don't know, voice your displeasure with comics, and you're suddenly labeled racist, homophobic, and all sorts of shit. So, you know, these people don't practice what they preach, for sure. And you know, the funny thing about that ad in particular is, you know, they're the same people who will say we want men to show more emotion will shut down a man when he says, hey, I think this commercial was kind of fucked up.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, okay, so I'm only supposed to show emotion when what? It's to you? Like I'm supposed to caress your feet and, you know, call you princess and shit. That, I mean,
It's a no-win situation. Because
right, which is why
women don't really want that. Women don't want an emotional guy. They don't want guys that are going to be crying all the time.
Right.
They don't. I mean, maybe there are some that do. Maybe the woman haters or the man haters do. They want guys that cry all the time because they. You know what? I'll tell you this. My new theory now. I just caught up in my head. The man haters want guys to be more emotional. They want them to be crybabies because they are yellers and screechers. And that gives them the power.
Right.
Now they can have power over these guys, and that's what they want culturally. That's what they want. They want to be the men role because, you know, whatever, men have had it so good or whatever. And so if they can get all the boys to be crybabies, then they can yell at them and they can be in charge.
Right. They want the power they imagine that, you know, men wield exclusively and use to oppress them. And the whole thing stems from, you know, from, I think, a bit of jealousy. And the reality is that there are women in power, and there are, you know, people of color in power and or positions of influence as well. And like the world as they perceive it doesn't exist, and yet they want to punish the world for that perception. These are people who should be talking to therapists. Like, oh man. And that's what does me in. What really does me in about these people is how they can take a stance of moral superiority when, in fact, they're very amoral. And
well, you saw the pictures of the girls with the Gillettes on their butts, right?
Right. The hypocrisy of Gillette.
How you going to moralize to me when that's what you're doing? And to be fair, I don't have a problem with those ads. All those girls get paid. It's like, I think last year, the year before, there was this thing about, there were these girls that work at racetracks. They hold up the signs and they do stuff. And then they were doing it like, you know, they get paid. They do it on, you know, it's a part-time job or whatever, on, you know, while they're working through school or doing whatever. And people came in, these other women came in, they're like, oh, these girls are being, you know, sexualized and all this other stuff. And the girls were like, no, I'm making a paycheck.
Right.
And it's the same thing. Like I said, I don't have a problem with they're going to do that. But have all the girl team wear the, you know, the little Gillette spandex suits, if that's what they want to do. But don't then come back to me and moralize and claim moral superiority because because somebody told you that men aren't acting right.
Right. They miscalculated for sure. You know. And like you said, there's that hypocrisy out there. There are people deciding for women, the darts thing, the car girls, showgirls, you know. And all of these women say, you know, they were great jobs. I love them. They liked the self-confidence it gave them and shit. And you got people who probably couldn't get fucked if the entire world was roofied into an eternal slumber, telling these women that they're not allowed to do things that they want to do, and calling that progressivism, and it's insane. You know, it's a whole shitload of fuck.
Yeah, it screws up boys when you want to tell them all through school, no, you're not acting correctly.
Right.
The boys will be boys. Nobody says that, and boys will be boys because boys are wired a certain way to act a certain way. That they are more aggressive. Okay, that's what guys are, but that doesn't mean that they're bad people,
Right.
or that they're even necessarily doing anything bad. It's okay to be competitive, because to be a provider, you have to be competitive to get more of the provisions. If you want to earn more of the provisions, you want to earn more of the supplies, you got to work harder, and that means you got to compete. And that's part of what masculinity is.
Right. And the really funny thing about this ad, man, is that the same people who say that, they complain about old white men making, say, abortion laws, these are the same people who, they want representation in their media. They got mad at Bryan Cranston for playing a crippled dude, and they got mad at Scarlett Johansson for playing getting set to play a trans person and all that shit. They say, no, the only one who can speak for us, is us. And yet they feel qualified to speak for men as, bearers of the vagina,
Well, and then they want to, like in certain things, then they want to do race swaps. Well, only white men can talk for, or only, this particular group can talk for themselves. But then they get mad at when we say, hey, I've always liked this character. Why'd you race swap him? Oh, it's because you're racist. You don't like it. No, you want to do a race swap. Only this character can talk to this whatever, but then you want to swap races whenever you feel like it. It never goes the other way around. Like in all these fan fictions, it's okay. It's okay if we take the straight character and make them gay in the fan fiction, and then bring it over into the game or the comic or the movie or whatever. But try to take a gay character and make him straight, they'd blow up. They'd freaking blow their minds. Oh, you still there? Uh-oh. Looks like we lost Nerd Wizard. I didn't mute you, did I? I don't think so. I don't think I muted him. Uh-oh. Told you this would be a disaster. Uh-oh. We got dead silence. I'm gonna start
I think I muted myself, brother.
I was like, uh-oh, he's gone.
Yeah, sorry about that, man.
All right.
Where were we?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking of Iceman.
Yeah. What were we talking about? I completely missed if you mentioned Iceman. But okay, but I guess that goes into it.
Right. I was going to say that in the case of Iceman, this is a character who has a long storied history of being straight and chasing after girls, and he was changed in the most, you would think, like anti-progressive way possible, which is somebody outed him.
Mm-hmm.
So not
and
only
the theory is that somebody might have changed him.
Right. Like, no, man. Like, we've had this character, who's got a huge established history of I believe he was dating Lorna at one point, right? Polaris and
I think
things
so.
like that. Yeah.
Well, I guess there was stuff in the past. Like I never really followed Iceman, but I guess there was stuff in the past where straight out thought balloons, when they used to do more thought balloons, and he was talking about girls and I feel this way about this girl or whatever.
Right.
So how can you say okay? How are you going to retro that to mean he was always gay?
Right.
When in the past, what he was thinking was all about girls.
Right.
He never had that straight thought, and they never brought it up.
Right. And not only that, but when they did finally change him, they did so in a ham-fisted way that should be offensive to this group, but isn't, because yay, gay representation. And this is why I dislike these people, because their principles are fluid, and they're situational. So, somebody can mind rape you, and it's perfectly fine as long as the result is they've told the world you're gay.
Yeah.
And not that it bothers me, because I'm not a weird social justice person, but it does bother me that they changed the character and that they did it in such a ham-fisted kind of rapey way. Mm-hmm. But only because it should bother them, and it doesn't.
Well, exactly.
Well, also, and the character doesn't need to be gay. Just fill a quota.
They just wanted to do a bunch of, and I don't read it. I just kind of hear about it.
Sure.
But it seemed like it was a lot of just, we're going to just do a bunch of gay stereotypes just to say he's gay. It's like, I'm gay.
Right.
hey, I'm gay.
And this is what I've heard as well. I haven't read any Latter Day X-Men or Iceman or whatever, but I've heard that he's pretty fucking campy when he does show up. So,
And I guess he's a total asshole too. He's not even like
Yeah.
a friendly gay guy. He's a complete dick to people.
Hey, Panzer. Hey, Panzer, join us.
Yep, Panzer says that the best gay characters are Midnighter and Apollo. I am not familiar with either one of those guys.
Apollo.
What are they from?
I think Apollo's a DC character, I want to say. I don't know. That's the thing.
Hey, Panzer, you want to join us?
I told a friend.
I don't know if I follow him or not. Send him the
I
link.
do. I believe I do.
Yeah, go ahead. You have the link in your thing, right? You just send him the link.
Okay.
A Wildstorm. So that's DC.
Oh, right. Well, it is now.
Yeah, before in the 90s, it was Jim Lee. Was Wildstorm?
Well,
Or
Jim
Silvestri.
Lee and a bunch of ex.
Or was it Silvestri? It was one of those two, I think.
It was a few of the ex Marvel and DC guys, I believe. They went off to do their own thing because they didn't get to keep creator rights.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Right, Panzer. You okay? Not sure if this is the right person. Hey, Panzer, send me a DM on Twitter because I know I follow you. There's gay Batman and Superman. Oh, there.
The two characters are gay Batman and Superman.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, though, everybody was wondering what was up with Bruce Wayne back in the 60s.
Well, it's because he had that kid living with him. That's why in the show, in the TV show, that's why they had the aunt there.
Right.
They put her there so that they could say, "Oh, they're not two gay guys living together."
Right. Dude, did you ever see Return of the Cape Crusaders?
No.
Oh God, dude, you need to. It's a animated movie based on the Adam West Batman.
Is it the one? I think I did. Is it the one where he Batman becomes bad for a bit?
Yes.
Okay, I did see that one.
And there's a follow up to that, Batman versus Two-Face, which is also really excellent because it filters all the the lore through the lens of the old 60s show.
Mm-hmm.
And also Harvey Dent / Two-Face is voiced by oh God, why can't I remember William Shatner's name? Yeah, William Shatner.
You couldn't remember William Shatner's name?
Okay, that is the Panzer I was thinking about. Panzer has done some inks on my drawings, man.
Oh, that's cool.
Are amazing. Like the colors, so good. I'm actually looking forward to talking to this dude.
I think there was some theory that the Dark Knight Returns, and there's probably a YouTube video on it. I think somebody had some theory that was actually a continuation of the 60s Batman TV series. I don't think it mentions the aunt though at all in the show, but I think it's one of those weird conspiracy theory kind of things. Not really conspiracy, but it's one of those. Somebody's like have you seen the one where it was like Snow Train is the sequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
No,
that was. That was good. That was making the rounds for a while, and they draw all the parallels. Oh, look, he would be about this age at this time, and there's, he would be running a certain running the company the same way, kind of thing. And they drew all these parallels, and they're like, "See, I think it's the, and they talk about certain things. And it's like, oh, see, the reason there are no Oompa Loompas is because they all died out or something." And then they drew like this parallel. Snowpiercer, I think, was the movie. Right. And I've never seen Snowpiercer, but I watched the video and I'm like, those videos, they're always fun because they draw like the parallels. It's kind of neat because you kind of learn a little bit, but about different things. But that was freaking hilarious.
We've got our second Dave on the show.
Who do we got?
We got my boy Panzer.
Hey, Panzer, can you hear us?
And
He's still
he might be
working on his
setting up his
audio.
mic.
Can
Yeah.
you hear
There he
me
is.
now?
I can hear you now.
buddy. How you doing, man?
What's
I'm
up, dude?
fine. I hope my German accent isn't like really annoying.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
You know what? With the name Panzer, I kind of suspected it. I had no idea who you were, but I'm like, I'll bet he's German.
No, I believe. I mean, I might be mistaken, but this is the talented Panzer that's colored some of my stuff.
Yeah, I'm that guy.
Yeah,
Because I have so much free time.
dude. It always makes me happy when you do one of my pieces, dude. So
Yeah, I heard you talking about like Iceman.
yeah,
God,
Mhm.
like
we triggered him.
yeah, I have a lot of opinions about that character. Like I saw a video by this one guy named Comic Drake. He actually made like some good points about like Iceman being gay, but like the guy that writes him is fucking terrible.
Right.
I fucking
Christina
hate
Grace?
him. Yeah. Like one of the only like big Marvel characters that's gay. The only other two that I come to my mind that are like gay and not fucking lesbians because I fucking hate lesbians.
North Star.
Yeah, Northstar and Hulk.
Yeah, but where's North Star at?
And Hulkling and
Oh,
that one
really?
guy. Yeah, Hulkling is
Amadeus
gay.
Cho is gay.
no the other one, the Skrull
Oh,
one.
the one from Young Avengers or whatever it was.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
he's dating the fucking not the Speedster, the other one. Scarlet Witch's kids.
Wiccan.
Yeah, Wiccan.
Oh, Jesus Christ, dude.
What?
Dave, I wanted to mention something to you, man, because you brought up Dark Knight Returns. Tonight or last night's Gotham actually had the freaking mutants from the Dark Knight Rises with the visors and everything and the sharp teeth and
really?
the speech patterns and stuff
On Gotham?
Yeah.
I got through the first season, and then I think I got a couple into the second season. At the time, it wasn't on Netflix, so
Right.
I haven't finished it since then. So I have to restart
You
from the
should.
second season.
You know what? If you embrace it,
I liked the first season. I liked the first
Yeah.
few. I liked the story the way it was going, but I just never got around to finishing it.
and that's the thing about the show. It's batshit nuts most of the time,
Mhm.
and it's campy as fuck, but mixed with like blood and guts.
Yeah.
So, but when you embrace it for what it is, like a reimagining, kind of like an Elseworlds version of Batman, it's
Well,
great.
I like Donald Logue, the guy that plays
Donald Logue
his
is
partner.
great.
Yeah, I love him. I
Harvey
think he's
Bullock,
great.
Yeah. So I'm gonna guess you watched Grounded for Life back in the
I
day.
did. I remember when it was on. I'd seen a few of them, and I watched Terriers, not the whole thing. Again, that was one I got through the first few, and I liked it. It was good, but I never finished it.
So you're a fan of Loeb from Blade?
I remember that he was in
Yeah,
Blade.
remember that?
Yeah,
Oh shit! I'm just messing around, man. I have had like 3 or 4 shots.
I'm about to finish my second full drink. What was this one? This one was this is the down home kamikaze. We're still on the iced tea vodka and some triple sec and some lemon juice.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to switch. Well, I've been taking it pretty slow, so
Drink plenty of water.
I'm not feeling it as much as I thought I would.
Whereas I, on the other hand, am so exhausted from running errands today that these 4 shots, woo. But yeah,
I got some Long Island iced tea mix. I might mix me one of those.
Panzer, I'm glad to finally get to talk to you, brother.
Yeah. I'm
Oh,
not,
there you
like,
go.
Very
that's
social person. That's why I'm not like really talking.
He's got the appropriate avatar.
Nightcrawler.
Yeah. That's one of the things that like pisses me off about like people that are like, "Whoa, a black character is diversity." It's fucking not.
Right.
Like, I actually want some different like countries represented. Like the only fucking German superhero that's like cool as fucking Nightcrawler.
Right.
And he's cool as hell. I remember when I was when I first started collecting, I did mostly it was indie stuff because I always thought like all the DC and Marvel stuff looked the same at the time.
Sure.
So I liked all the like my first comics were like Ninja Turtles and And I like actively avoided all the Marvel and DC stuff. So it was like any kind of weird indie stuff I could find, I would get that. And then I started collecting stuff like my friend got me into New Mutants. And then from New Mutants, I was like all through the early 90s. For probably a year or two, I had a good run of X-Men. And Nightcrawler, I remember Nightcrawler was always one of my favorite characters.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's complex. He's a religious character. He isn't afraid to express his religion. He's got a heart of gold. He is like the Errol Flynn of the X-Men, you know?
Oh, and he was in Excalibur. And Excalibur was one of my favorite series, too.
That was the Chris Claremont run, right?
Yeah. Oh, that was a great series.
The one that was drawn by Alan Davis.
It had like 3 hotties in it.
Yeah, it had Megan.
Yep.
Remember Megan?
Oh, I do remember Megan.
Oh, and dude, rumor has it that they're actually going to do a Captain Britain movie that also features the Black Knight.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, why not?
I remember that was there was a when that came out, there was like a kind of a Marvel British invasion. There were a lot of the English version of the comics coming. They were releasing them here. Right. They weren't. I guess they weren't overly popular before, but they brought them here. That was one of them, and then my other favorite was Death's Head and Death's Head 2.
Death's Head, yeah.
Yeah, and Death's Head 2. I remember that those were, I remember when those came out, I was like, wow, those are
I love the contrast between Death's Head, his appearance and the way he talked.
Yeah.
You know, he was always proper, you know? And,
yeah.
But you know why they brought all those comics over, right? Or like at least some of them. Because like one of the guys that worked for Marvel made like his own publisher.
Oh.
And one of his characters had like the same name as like a character from Marvel UK. So they brought over that book to fuck him over. I think it was the guy that wrote Secret Wars.
No kidding.
Yeah. Marvel was like a kind of a big dick in the 90s.
Yeah. Yep.
I know. I remember in the 90s, when I finally was into the mainstream, it was almost all Marvel. I don't remember any DC that I collected. Now, I don't collect. I don't collect a lot of them. Well, I don't know. The most stuff I get, I don't get hardly any Marvel. I get mostly DC if it's mainstream stuff. No, it's beer.
Root beer me.
Yes. No, I got some like hard root beers. We're pulling out of the fridge now. I finished my second tumbler of mixed. I'm gonna slow it down a little bit.
But it wasn't. To be fair though, she kind of undermixed it, right?
Yeah. Well, all I did was it was 2 shots, and then a little bit of lemon juice. So that second one wasn't that big a drink. It wasn't a full tumbler. So now we'll be drinking straight from the bottle.
There was something I was gonna say, man. Like because one of the things you'll know as you get to know me, man, is that I'm full of useless trivia.
That's the best kind,
right? And it's not that I'm like trying to show off or be like, oh, I'm so smart. It's literally I can't fucking stop myself from shooting out useless trivia.
Well, that's what these are for. That's what these it's to spit out all your useless trivia, get it out of your head.
Yeah, right. But yeah, dude, pick up Gotham again.
I definitely will. I've been meaning to. I just haven't gotten a chance.
Yeah, and it's good. They play around with the Joker a lot in the 3rd, 4th season, and they introduce you to a character who at one point seems like he's going to be the Joker.
I remember I got to that part. There was the one character, and then they killed him. And was he? Yeah. He was like the Red Hood or something for a while, wasn't he?
Oh,
doing that?
No, not at all. Not at all. That they did introduce the Red Hood in the 1st season. The Red Hood gang, but nope, it didn't tie back to Joker at all.
Okay. Like I said, I'll have to start watching. I'll start from the 2nd season again.
Yeah. Just keep your eye on a character named Jerome.
Okay.
Oh, and when he's introduced, man, it's like one of the best interrogation scenes I've seen on TV in a while, just because this kid's a good actor. Like, I think his name's like Cameron Monaghan. What's
his
that?
Performance as a not Joker is great. He's not a Joker at all. He's legally
right. Yeah.
Like they couldn't use him, so he's just a guy that literally just dresses up as a fucking Joker for like most of the show. At certain points.
Yeah, yeah, and that's like their legally distinct Harley Quinn this season. It's but no, I mean the show it's like when taken on its own, it is a hell of a lot of fun. It's
Yeah.
it's not great television, but at the same time, it is just because it's so much fun. It's like one of the most fun shows I've watched on TV in a long time.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to pick that back up.
Yeah, man. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's got to be better than any of them CW shows.
Now, see, you're talking to somebody who admittedly begrudgingly still watches The Flash.
Well, see, now I watched the first season of Supergirl. I like The Flash. My kids really like The Flash. I haven't been keeping up with it. I've probably seen the first 2 seasons of The Flash, and I liked it. Supergirl, I think I saw the first season and a little bit of the second season, and it's just like, she's a little girl. Sometimes she acts like a little girl, and sometimes she acts like and it has nothing. And from that first 2 seasons, it had nothing to do with the politics. It was more like, why can't she act like an adult woman? They call her Supergirl, but I mean, come on, you can only go so far with her acting like a little kid. It seemed like to me,
right. And I don't care about that show too much. When it crosses over with Arrow and The Flash, I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, actually, one of the CW shows that you should check out, man,
Legends.
is Legends. Yes, Legends of Tomorrow, man.
You know what? That's another one I've been meaning. I've seen like 1 or 2 episodes. One of the characters I really love from The Flash that I think they did really well was Captain Cold. I don't know if he's up. I don't think he's good canon wise as far as with the comics, but I like the actor that played him, and I like the way he portrayed the character. So he was on the show. He was actually one of my favorite characters, and I know he went over to that one.
Yeah, and it's funny because he was on Prison Break with the guy who plays Mick Rory, Heatwave, and so Wentworth Miller, he was great as Captain Cold.
Mm-hmm.
So good. But yeah, the shows, the first couple seasons of The Flash were great. Season 2 did kind of become a little tired just because they went with another. Well, actually, season 2 and 3, they both went with speedster villains.
Mm-hmm.
The last couple seasons have rectified that, and I think are better off for it. But
the thing that bothered me about Flash,
mm-hmm.
and it was just something I found funny, was like everybody knew who he was. It seemed like it's like he would be constantly revealing his secret identity to everybody.
Well, there actually, it seems like that, but aside from, Team Flash, as they call them, and a few people outside of the group, because everybody he's introduced his, identity to, of course, aside from Captain Cold, is part of Team Flash. So he's still keeping it in, hey, another friend of mine, Rob, says he can join us in 30 minutes if we're still doing this.
Yeah, if we're still doing it, absolutely. I got the artist that I'm working with on some of my stuff. He's dealing with his stuff with his kids right now, but he said he'd join whenever he could, so he might jump on at any time.
Yeah. So is it cool if I shoot Rob?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you. Rob's a good dude.
So weird. Like, I'm like 18 and I'm like in a call with people that have kids.
Well, I don't have any kids that I know of. I mean, so
if you're single, you should keep it that way.
Yeah. Well, for me though, it's more about like with the state of my mental health and stuff. I don't want to subject anybody to that right now. I want to keep working on my stuff and getting to a point where I can,
No, it's mature to admit that.
Well, yeah, man. It's just, I mean, and then of course somebody told me, it's not up to you, because if somebody likes you and they like you for who you are, you gotta. So I don't know, but no, I historically been shit in relationships. My anxiety gets to me and stuff. So
sometimes it's like, well, you don't want to really subject other people. I mean, I'm not saying anything against you. It's just, you don't want to subject people to
right. If you're self-aware enough to know that you're kind of high maintenance and shit, like, be aware of that.
Well, but then if you meet somebody, then you can at least tell them. He's like, hey, because you're self-aware, you can say, hey, look, these are my issues. These are what's going on. I mean, you could, if you're okay with that, then we're cool.
I like to have sex with telephone poles. But no, yeah, but I don't know. This year, I'm determined to get a grasp on all this stuff because, it's kept me from working for a while. What are you laughing at?
Yeah, I know. That's what I want to know. My wife thought something was funny. Oh, she'll put it in the chat. You can't be laughing at my guess, Ange. Oh, she was laughing at the sex because she's hearing it on delay because she's watching the thing and it's a few seconds off. So he just heard the thing about the telephone pole.
Well, I'm glad I could make her laugh. And that's the thing. I'm trying to do that. Just like
he's pouring his heart out, Ange, and at the point where he's pouring his heart out, you just suddenly start laughing.
I think it's fucking great. Tell Angela that I appreciate her. She's great. But yeah, man, like, what were we talking about? Gotham? The Flash?
Oh, no, yeah.
Seriously, though, watch Legends of Tomorrow.
I'll definitely pick that one up.
And again, like Gotham, you got to take it for its own thing. It's a little more lighthearted. It's a little more goofy, but it's fun. Oh, and Constantine. Did you ever see that NBC Constantine
I did.
show?
We saw a couple episodes. We really liked it. We don't have TV, regular TV.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, so a lot of the stuff is we stream. So, right. We don't, like, I was thinking about getting Hulu, but right now we just got Amazon Prime and we have Netflix. So we kind of wait till stuff comes up on both of those.
I think Constantine should be on Amazon.
I might check. I did like the TV show, and I like that they brought him to the CW. They brought the same actor,
exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan. He is
in the third season of Legend of Tomorrow a lot.
Right. And I love him. I think he's great as Constantine, and I would have loved to have seen his show continue. But this is the next best thing, I suppose.
Well, I liked the movie Constantine. And I like Keanu Reeves, but he's not Constantine.
No, he isn't.
He didn't do bad, but you could have called that movie something else.
You could have called it like The Matrix Subdued or something like that.
Something.
Like, I did like their use of Peter Stormare in that movie.
Oh, he's good in everything, though.
I love Peter. Love that guy. Yeah, man. I don't think I've watched a movie or heard him do voice acting that I didn't enjoy.
Yeah,
like he was in the. Did you ever watch the 2012 reboot of Ninja Turtles, the animated one? I
think so. I remember seeing it. I don't remember much about it.
Yeah, that show actually was surprisingly pretty good. Ciro Neely, God, I can never get that guy's name right. He worked on Teen Titans back in the day before that was canceled, and then he became kind of the showrunner and creative head behind the Ninja Turtle show, and it knows how to pay homage to the 1987 show without being a slave to it and stuff. And in fact, there are some episodes where they do like crossovers between that series and the old 87 show that are really fun. And the guy who plays Shredder in this show, Kevin Michael Richardson, I think he's Kevin Michael Richards. He's done a lot of voice acting that you would recognize instantly.
You know what blows my mind? And the first time I heard it was in the original Ninja Turtle cartoon.
Uncle Phil.
Was Uncle Phil.
Yes.
And once you hear it, you're like, oh my God, it's so obvious.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. When this show closed itself up, it did a 3-part arc where the 87 Ninja Turtles crossed over. And Kevin Michael Richards, I can't remember his name exactly, but he did the voice of the Shredder on this new show, being totally Kevin Michael Richards, but he also did a damn fine impression of Uncle Phil Shredder, like so good, in fact, that you would think they resurrected him.
That I remember when I first found that out, and it was so obvious too, because once somebody said it, and then I listened, I'm like, oh my God, yeah.
What's his name?
Oh, I don't know. He died not too long ago, like a couple of years ago, I think.
Was it Reginald Vell Johnson?
No, that was a different.
Oh,
He
that's
was
the
on
Die
Family
Hard
Matters.
guy.
God, you
Yeah.
racist. All these guys look the same to you.
Shit, dude. To my credit, though, I haven't watched.
It's James Avery or something.
Yep, that's right.
James Avery.
Yep, James Avery.
James
That's
Avery.
right.
James Avery. God, I am a racist. Dude, you were talking about theories earlier. That actually reminded me. Somebody had a theory that Die Hard was an extension of Family Matters.
That would make sense. He plays a cop in almost every movie.
Yeah.
It was that he was in Ghostbusters too. He was played a cop.
Yeah.
He was the one that pulled him out of the jail. He
Yeah.
was like, all right, you need to go see the mayor. That was him.
Yeah.
And then in Crocodile Dundee, he was the limo driver.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I haven't seen Crocodile Dundee since like the mid '80s.
It's funny because they what was it in the scene? He was the limo driver, and there's a scene where they've got the TV antenna, and it looks like a boomerang. And he pulls it off, and it was Reginald Vell Johnson. He pulls the TV antenna off the thing, and he throws it like a boomerang.
Oh shit, that's great. Oh man, did you see the Crocodile Dundee parody? Not a parody trailer, but it was like a fake sequel.
It was marketing. It was marketing for Australia.
Yeah,
for their tourism thing. It was,
right.
And I remember seeing stuff about it. I remember seeing that it was what's his name that was doing it, and then like it kind of disappeared. It kind of fell off my radar, and I was like, whatever happened to that movie? Did that movie ever get made? And then I looked into it maybe like a month ago. I looked into it. For some reason, it came on my radar again. And I'm like, damn, that was really good marketing. Because it had all these other Australian actors in it. It had Thor in it. Yeah, and some other guys. And they were all hilarious. They were actually really funny. All of the ads that they did.
Yeah. Kind of makes you wish they,
I wish they had made that movie almost.
Right.
Of course, if they had made the movie, it would have been horrible.
Well, probably.
But the trailers are good. The trailers were funny.
Right. But that actually brings me up to the next topic of conversation, if you don't mind.
No. Yep.
The Ghostbusters 2020.
Yeah, actually, I hope it looks... I mean, all they had was the little trailer.
Yeah, which was great.
God, the music was good and everything. Hopefully...
It was classic Ghostbusters music.
Yeah,
like
hopefully.
They went into the library and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
God, I want that. So a lot of people are like, they're like, eh. Some people are like, eh. Some people are like, oh, yeah, that's going to be cool. I don't know. They need to... And realistically, they need... Because they're too old. I mean, they're all too old. Realistically, they need to do a passing of the torch,
which seems like that's what they're going to do in some way.
And I'm thinking what they want to do, what I think they want to do is they want to get some actors in there that can continue the franchise and make another movie after. Yeah, I think I heard
the reboot should be.
Yeah, exactly.
And not like some fucking idiot that dresses like a fucking grandpa. It's like, we have the best female comedians in the world here working on this Ghostbusters fucking movie that isn't in continuity. So why should I care? And
I didn't do anything. I just turned the camera on for 3 hours and then cut the useful shit. And
I'll
that's
tell you
the thing.
the
That
problem.
actually,
Go ahead.
I was going to say that actually raises a point with the people bitching about this new movie is that they condemned Jason Reitman for being a white guy when Paul Feig, last I checked, was a white woman. I mean, a white guy.
White woman.
No, you were right the first time.
Right. Like,
he's exactly one of those guys I totally expect to be like a sexual assaulter behind the scenes.
Right.
He's straight. And I saw his background. He was raised by like women in I can't say raised by women and just end it with that. But there was something about his background and how he was raised. He didn't have a father or whatever, which is why he makes all these kind of romantic kind of movies. Yeah. I want to say he was raised by like his mother. I don't want to say she was a stripper. I don't think that's right. But it was in an environment where there were a lot of women, and he didn't have a father figure.
Right. Well, in his legacy, I think was most encapsulated and by the Freaks and Geeks show, which was pretty good. And I guess he did some episodes of The Office and stuff. But for the most part, like this man has done, he actually did, a show that people loved and they wish would come back and stuff like that. But generally speaking, his stuff is very lowbrow, kind of toilet humor comedy at points, And this, it speaks to Sony's like complete misunderstanding of the original Ghostbusters movie. They would hire this guy to do it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have minded the movie so much. I didn't have a problem with the cast. I didn't have a problem with the all-female cast.
Yeah, why not?
The movie didn't stick to its own rules. Like in the original Ghostbusters, you catch the ghost, you put them in a trap, they stick them in containment. That's what they did. This time, sometimes they catch them, sometimes they can punch them, sometimes they can shoot them with a gun and destroy. I mean, there's no like rules to follow to take the movie at all seriously.
Dave, you know what that tells me? You watched that Plinkett review too.
What's that?
Oh, nothing. If you haven't watched any of Red Letter Media's stuff, you should.
I think I might have seen it, but that was one of the things that really bothered me about the movies.
Yeah. There's no established rules. There's, even when they're building the tech, which was kind of cool, it was just, it ended up being a lot of stupid shit at the end, which was like, I don't know. And the whole movie was way too improvised, way too directionless. There were weird ass queef jokes. And the original Ghostbusters didn't have to do that. Like its humor was subtle. Like a lot of the jokes, like where Egon was, where he was, God damn, I can't remember the English language. I was going to say the jokes surrounding Egon in particular were about his weird ass personality. Like,
well, he was kind of really, he played everything really straight.
Right.
And
like when Janine says, do you read any books or what books have you read or whatever? And he says, Prince dead, totally deadpan and stuff like, it was, or when they're in the elevator, flipping on their proton packs, talking about how they're unlicensed nuclear reactors and they don't know, if this is going to work, You
need to find, I don't know if you've seen it, where there's a theory. Some film teacher was talking about it, and there's probably a YouTube video about it, that Ghostbusters isn't about anything. Have you heard that? Like, there's no underlying theme to the movie, and it's funny. There's no like every movie is kind of about something. It's trying to give you a message, and there's nothing specifically in Ghostbusters. There's no underlying theme of the movie that tries to give you a message. Right. It's very about the plot, and that's it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's Gozer and
the theory goes that it's the only movie. It's the only movie that isn't about anything. There's literally no, again, there's no underlying theme. There's no underlying message to the movie that's trying to preach to you, even subtly.
Right. And see, I think that's what sells it. In fact, is the fact that there's these, 4 great comedians, up on film, just doing their thing and having a good time doing it. Like, it's such a great movie from that respect, that it doesn't try to teach you anything. It doesn't have any undercurrent aside from the fact that these are regular schlubs who, created a business to fight ghosts. Like that is the closest that movie comes to that kind of underlying thing, and even then it's shallow. It's not trying to preach to you. It's not trying to send you a message. It's not trying to give you a moral. It's just presenting you with all these really fun things and letting you have a good time along with the actors.
Yeah, all the humor is. I mean, Bill Murray obviously he carries the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, and not that there's all good stuff from everybody. I love the Twinkie scene and all that other stuff, but Bill Murray's personality carries the movie.
Sure, and
just like in everything else he's in.
Oh God, I can't remember names tonight because I've been drinking. But Dan Aykroyd. There we go. I always loved him too. I always loved Ray because Ray was the guy that, from the beginning wanted to believe. Like he was like super psyched. He thought this thing could, be a business, and he was just like, he was always the guy who contrary to the group dynamic, you would think Egon would be, but he's always the guy saying like, "This is a class 2 full torso vapor," and
you know why he's that character? Because that's the way he is in real life. He believes in all that stuff.
He does, yes. And I've heard he makes great vodka too. Right.
But I saw he used to have a show where like he'd bring on like weird psychics and that kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
But yeah, he's big into the UFOs and ghosts. And and a lot of that stuff is based on his, because he was so into it, is based on his kind of research into the paranormal and things like that.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, that's where a lot of that comes from.
It makes sense.
It was just a topic he was really interested. I mean, obviously they like, from what I understand, he wanted to originally start the movie at the Twinkie scene.
No kidding.
Yeah, the whole movie, the original idea for the movie was all this ghost stuff has already been happening, and like it's already established in in lore and in whatever. That's where he wanted to start the movie. But the way they scripted it that way, the budget would have been way too high. So they started it from the beginning, where they started getting into it and starting the whole business.
Right. And I think the movie worked better for it,
Yeah.
And besides, I like Dan Aykroyd because he's had no trouble going on like news and saying, or like cable news and going, yeah, this whole thing sucked and it was directed by an idiot. And when talking about the 2016 reboot, and he's like, oh man, have you ever seen that video of them on like Jimmy Kimmel or Conan or whatever, and they're all sitting around and fucking Ernie Hudson, Dan Aykroyd, and Bill Murray are like, God, I want to kill myself.
No, from everything I've seen, they've seemed like they've been contractually limited to saying, oh yeah, the movie wasn't terrible.
Right.
Because I just saw a thing with Ernie, because when they did the thing, somebody talked Comic Book News, or somebody interviewed Ernie Hudson, and he was like, and he tried so hard not to say that it was a terrible movie.
Right. He'd be like, they're talented women. And
yeah, he was like, oh, I love all those girls. And maybe it wasn't quite the right vibe they were looking for. And Ghostbusters fans want a certain vibe, want a certain whatever. And that's what he was hoping. He's obviously he wants the big movie, because he's good, but he does a lot of small parts now. He obviously wants the big movie, movie paycheck again. I
believe Ernie Hudson was on Psych.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He was he was one of his girlfriend's dads or something.
No, I think he was Gus's dad.
Was he Gus's dad?
Yeah,
you're right, because they had another guy. They had like a fat guy, and then the next episode they had him on. I remember that.
I believe that fat guy was David Keith.
What? Dave? Was it David Keith?
Yeah, the guy from They Live.
Yeah. Yeah. I know they used to have a lot of '80s actors come on the show.
Yeah, like Ali Sheedy.
They had Ali Sheedy, and on was it the last episode? They had I can't remember his name.
Oh, they had Peter Welling.
Oh yeah, and
RoboCop himself.
And the very last episode, they had Val Kilmer.
No shit.
Yeah, at the very end of the show, when he basically has all these. He did like a short video basically saying that he's not really psychic, and he gives it to all the like he gives it to Lassie, to Lassiter, and Lassiter like watches until he's just about to say it, and then he takes off the disc and crumples it up.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to know, and then at the very end scene, one of the cops that's like sitting there in the office. He like turns around. He's like, and it's Val Kilmer, and he's like, I don't know why he gave me this disc. And he goes, I barely talked to the dude.
That's great. Oh, have you seen the movie?
Oh, who else is here?
Oh,
somebody else popped in.
Do we got Rob? Yeah, we got Rob.
So, all right, go ahead. What were you saying?
I was going to say there's a movie that takes place a bit after the series, and the saddest thing about it, man, is because the what's his name? Amundsen, the guy who played Lassiter.
Lassiter,
Timothy Amundsen.
Yeah.
He had a stroke.
Oh, really? For real? Yeah. In real life?
In real life, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, they wanted Lassiter to be a bigger part of it, but he only really gets a little bit of screen time. You know,
the Christmas special, is that what you're talking about?
I think it was it was
They did a Christmas special last year, I think, and I never got to see it.
They called it Psych the Movie.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's good. There's a lot of fun stuff in there, and
he was one of my favorite characters. I love a lot of the main shows, of shows. I love kind of side characters.
Yeah.
He was my favorite character in that show.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, if you've ever seen Person Unknown?
Person of Interest?
Person of Interest. My favorite character was the Fusco, the other cop that he managed to turn and was like their inside guy.
Huh.
He was my favorite because he had a great redemption arc, because he was at the very beginning of the show, he was a bad guy that they kind of turned.
Right.
And were using him for inside information. And then over the course of the show, his character, like when he first became a cop, really liked being the good cop and doing good work.
Yeah.
And then ended up turning to these bad guys turned him. So in the story arc of the whole series, he likes doing good cop work again, and he becomes at the end of the series, he's a good cop, and he's back to being a good cop. He had a great story arc.
He also played the biblical Cain in Supernatural, and he had a beard and shit.
Oh yes.
Intimidating as hell.
He was really good. Now I remember.
Yeah.
I lost it after season 10 or 11. It was right at that. Right when it was before. It was right after he transferred the mark over to what's his name. Is when I stopped watching it.
Right. Yeah. Oh, you got to keep watching it, man. It's funny because like the first 5 seasons had a clear roadmap, and they should have probably let it go after season 5, but
they kept looking at. They looked at the numbers. I'll bet you like, holy shit, everybody's still watching. Let's get another season. And everybody's still watching. Let's get another season.
Yeah, and and the thing is, it's still a consistently good show. But they're season 7 with the Leviathans. Remember that? That was kind of weak. And shit. But no,
I did watch the Scooby-Doo episode. I think that was on Netflix. I did watch that. That was a good one because they did the Scooby-Doo thing, and then at the very end of the show, the outside Scooby-Doo ended up being a Scooby-Doo episode. Yeah, it was. They solved it the same way they would a Scooby-Doo thing. It was funny.
And the thing is, that was an actual Scooby-Doo episode from the 70s and shit. Like, but yeah, I loved that. Oh man, Scooby Natural was great. But anyway, Rob, are you here, brother?
I think somebody's got himself muted.
I'm not muted.
No, we got you.
Rob, we see you, brother.
All right. Well,
hold on. Let me get ahead of. Hold. You guys continue.
Oh, there he is.
Hey, Rob.
Is that you? Oh, we're getting closer. At least we got his face now. All right, that's a lot of dead air.
Yeah, it is. Hey, that's every show
I'm sure he'll figure it out.
Yeah, Rob, I'm glad to have you here, brother. I'd like to talk to you. So if you can work all that stuff out, let me know.
All right, so let's see. So I remember I remember watching. So like I said, that's right after the Kane thing. Just after he got the thing, and they got their like secret headquarters and everything.
Yeah,
that's when I just kind of lost it after that.
Well, they're still there, but
yeah,
it's all on Netflix, man. So up to season 13, I believe now. So
I think aren't they up to like 16? They got the dad back. I remember seeing stuff about that in this season or the upcoming season. The dad's coming back for an episode.
300th.
Yeah, episode 300, I think.
Yeah, and yeah, it's funny. They actually made because that he plays Negan on.
Yeah, he plays Negan.
Right? They made a reference to that. Like
he was also
Dean has a baseball bat.
He's the comedian.
Yes, he is.
That's right. That's the other thing he plays. He's the comedian.
Hey,
there we go. We got something now.
Hey, Rob, you're looking good, brother.
I have been to Aruba, just to let you know.
But no, what's this called? Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yes.
you know, because he played Negan on The Walking Dead. Sam and Dean, in the opening of one episode on Supernatural, they walk in with the bat.
Oh, did they?
With the barbed wire on it, and they say, "Man, Dad used to love to take this out on her." It was great.
All right, looks like he's trying.
Take on me. That's a bag.
Check and see if you're muted there, Rob.
All right, go up to the settings, Rob, and choose your microphone, brother.
Yeah, that's what the first I was actually did a live stream with Doug one night. It was like 3 in the morning, and he like just sent out a thing. He's like, "Hey, who wants to come on the show?"
Hello.
Oh, hey, there we go. We got you.
So I am trying to get into doing my own YouTube account or my own YouTube channel, and I've got a new microphone. I got one of those nice Yetis, and that is muted right now and not being used. So that's why you couldn't hear me.
It's I've
good never had this problem before. Yeah.
Good to meet you, brother.
Nice to meet you guys. Am I the only one visible right now?
Yes.
We're all anonymous except you.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of people. Hello, Internet.
Hey, Rob. I have a webcam, but I don't have the bandwidth to support it. So
yeah, I don't want to eat down whoever's hosting, so I don't need to have mine on. I don't like my icon. I would change it for now if it would propagate, but it doesn't look like it is. I'll have to fiddle with it. I haven't used Google Plus products and so forth in a long time, so it's a train wreck.
Yeah. The Hangouts thing was just the easiest thing for me to figure out.
Well, right now it's one of the best tools for when you're doing streaming, but I've never actually used it. I've just seen people using different things, and this seems to be right now the best tool available for most of us on YouTube.
I've been toying with the idea of doing OBS or whatever it is it's called, but I don't know if I'm smart enough to figure that out.
OBS was a train wreck a few years ago. I just tried to use it again, and it's actually pretty slick. It's actually they fixed a lot of the problems. It used to be basically unusable because of how often it would crash. They've completely reworked it, and it's modernized and it's really nice. I don't know what they did or who got a hold of it, but it's usable now, very much so.
And if you need a tutorial, my brother.
Whoa!
You got to mute the stream, brother. Okay, so my friend Josh does OBS stuff. Like he helps folks set it up. So you can find him at Doc Bray on Twitter.
Is Doc Bray?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, he's a good dude. One of the best. Nah, Rob's one of the best, man. This dude's had my back. He's a good brother.
And what's he do?
Who, Rob?
I do a lot of things. You got to give me context.
Yeah, right.
But, no, most of them positive.
Well, are you like do comic book stuff or?
I am an artist wannabe. So okay. I'm by profession. I'm a STEM field, computer science,
Jesus Christ,
communications, software nerd. So
you're way too smart to be on the show. I'm going to kick you.
Yeah, right. No, he's going to get back into his lessons lately. You know, reconnecting with his artist side.
Yeah, Drawbox.com. I love it. The tutorials over there. But I went through some of his revamp of his old stuff to try and force myself to get into it, even though I've already learned a lot of the basics. It's very wax on, wax off when it comes to art. And I went through it, and he pointed out that you're going to get burned out doing this if you don't spend at least half the time doing what you want to do. And I'm like, oh, hey, I was getting burned out and never doing anything I wanted to do.
Right.
So I've got like a full page of all kinds of different eyes from real photos and from anime. And so I'm actually doing stuff now. So that's
the samurai way. You ever heard of that? That's what the samurai used to be, warriors, but they would also be like poets and artists and gardeners, and they do flowers and stuff. And it was their way of kind of balancing their psyche or whatever it was. They always did something else on top of being warriors.
Here's a bit of synchronicity for you. You bring up samurai on the way home from work. towards the end of work and on the way home, I just picked up a new podcast because I've been running out of ones to listen to.
Mhm.
And it was Dan Carlin. Apparently, I was looking for a history one, and there's this Dan Carlin Hardcore History, and he's got a 2-part series in his most recent ones that cover the history that led up to World War II and the imperialism of Japan. And he talked about the samurai and all of that. And apparently, basically, what happened is they had these people who were ideologues, much like the SJWs you see elsewhere on the internet. But they were ready to die for their country. They were ready. They were hardcore. They're ready to go. And then they entered a period of peacetime where they didn't know what to do. And so the solution from the new emperors and the new political establishment was, hey, we'll just integrate them into the government jobs. What could possibly go wrong? That's what led to the horrors in China and all of the terrible things Japan did. Is they basically said, you know what? Let's get all these SJWs of our culture, pull them in and make them run the government. That'll give its meaning and purpose. Yeah. So anyway, there's a light side and a dark side to everything, and that includes the samurai culture. So anyway, I thought that was funny you brought that up because that's not something I know much about, but I just happened to be listening to that.
And I'm not a historian, but I think I've seen stuff where what we think of as samurai culture is a lot of like photo ops.
Yeah.
Like literally, like they would take pictures in all their armor and stuff. And what we see are these pictures, these photographs of these guys and all this armor with the swords and stuff. And a lot of quote unquote samurai were just wealthy landowners and that kind of stuff.
Well, that's aside the propaganda component. I add that in, and it makes history in those time periods very hard to deal with. You can argue with people today that are like apologists for Lenin and Stalin, and it's just like, unironically, like, you're joking, right?
Yeah.
Like, history is written by the winners, and sometimes you have to look through the lens of it.
I always like the quirky stuff in history. That's the kind of fun stuff. It's like, well, if this guy had just been a little bit different, if he had been in just a different place at the right time, like
Ferdinand.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking of. Archduke Ferdinand. If he had turned down a different street, or just the slightest little thing, we wouldn't have had World War I. Or now we say that, but obviously there were other things leading up to it. So perhaps another thing would have led into World War I.
Right. And that's the thing is usually the things that kick it off are usually just manifestations of certain symptoms, and so it's gonna happen. It just depends on what it is and where.
Yeah. You think this one thing triggered everything, but really it was just the straw that broke the camel's back. It could have been a very different straw. That would have let off everything.
The butterfly effect, as you will.
Exactly. Uh-oh.
Yep.
We run out of stuff to talk about?
Oh, there's all kinds of stuff to talk about. I'm just not going to lead the discussion because the things I talk about make people really uncomfortable.
It's the bad idea drunk stream. So grab a beer and talk about bad ideas.
Like racing IQ. And you're banned. And it's over. It's banned. You're gone. You're done.
Statistics.
There's a scale.
Yeah. Statistics tell us that YouTube is likely to demonetize Dave's channel after this.
Let's have on Stephen Molyneux. What could possibly go wrong?
I already got somebody to say the N-word, so.
Hey, Rob, did you catch Crowder's return?
I did. Glad to have him back. I hope his back's doing better. He hasn't talked too much about it. But
oh, no way.
He's got to get his health into shape.
Yeah.
Jeremy, why aren't you in here? Because I didn't send you an invite, did I?
Right.
-1 digits out there.
I keep telling him to join us.
You gonna join us, Jeremy?
So I had a password thingy that happened with Twitter or something where they made me change some account stuff. They were worried I got hacked or something. Oh
God, really?
And it reset, and so it reset all the features that they put in front of your face when you join Twitter for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it's already got all of my old account stuff, and I fished through most of them, but like it just popped up my who to follow, and it's got like, you should follow RT and Breitbart. It's like, no. Hey, you support the party of Russia. It's just like,
I'm gonna hit Jeremy up with a link. Okay?
All right.
He's another one of my faves.
Yeah. I've been this show has been Jeremy free since I've started. So
right. And this show seems to be like all of Daryl's favorites.
What do you guys? Daryl's best picks. What do you guys usually focus on?
Oh, well, this is the first time I've done like a big live stream like this, so that was pretty much gonna be whatever came up, and
Yeah, this is the first time I've gotten to hang out with Dave. So
I can tell you the topics I have a lot of words for if I were to do my own live stream. It's masculinity, politics.
See, you came in late. We did a whole thing about Gillette and masculinity early on.
Oh, really?
But if you've got other, I mean, there's no problem going back to it.
I'm not. It's a long-term topic for me. So context is I have 2 twin boys that are 2 or 3 months old, and going through the process of having kids after trying for 5 years has been most of my focus for the past couple of months. And so right now in our society that's falling apart, I'm trying to figure out how to pave the way for those boys. And so I'm Petersonian, as I put in my Twitter bio. So I don't want people to think, because I hate people who are like, you just worship him just like you accuse other people of worshiping other people. And I try not to bring him up too much, but he has definitely defined the intellectual dark web movement. And so you don't have to like Peterson, Sam Harris, Joe Rogan, Dave Rubin, Ben Shapiro, Christina Hoff Summers. Take your pick.
Now my stream is mostly, or my Twitter account is mostly comic books. I try to focus on, and I was like, and I started following Ben Shapiro.
I was a little bit in left field. It's too late. You followed the Nazi. There's no backing out now.
Yeah, my Twitter is mostly comic book stuff, but I followed Ben Shapiro for like a day, and I like Ben Shapiro. But I mean, everything was Trump, 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 and then that's what he does. He does politics. And I was like, man, there's just way too much politics in my stream.
I'm very much involved in the culture war, but not emotionally. There are a lot of people get invested. There's a lot of anger and a lot of internet outrage. My thing is everything in society is dying before our eyes, and I just want to put my flag in the ground and say, not anymore. And so if I were to pick a topic that you might have something to say on, it would probably be Comicsgate.
Oh, yeah, well. What's that?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah. Well, what comic books here? So
I'm not really a comic book nerd. I'm just been part of what became Gamergate, which kind of branched off into Comicsgate. That I'm aware of the ongoing war to try and.
How into Gamergate are you? Because I'm kind of vaguely aware of Gamergate.
Gamergate, I was a latecomer to the culture war, but I'm one of those people who digs, and so I have an understanding, and I was aware of it from the very beginning, and I kind of look back into a lot of the stuff that happened at the beginning. So I know kind of what's up. It's the same infiltration you see with YouTube and Google and a lot of the Twitter and all these companies that are being overtaken by the ideologues who are trying to do the world in their image, have taken over a lot of the gaming companies. And you have people running gaming companies who don't know anything or care anything about games. And the core issue with Gamergate was the fact that everybody felt betrayed when they found that the reviewers were all sleeping with the game developer.
And was Zoe Quinn the one that was sleeping with the?
Yes, it was her.
And the Five Guys.
Five Guys. She's sleeping with the guys from Five Guys. They have awesome French fries.
Their burgers are the best. but no, Gamergate was it exploded out of that, and now it's a more broad movement. If you go to the Kotaku in Action subreddit, that's where most of the reasonable people hang out, and it's kind of become this weird. It's funny because on the one hand, they're just like it's just people who are secretly alt-right Nazis. Like that's the attacks against people, who are gamers. But the funny thing is, and this is a weird way to word it, but the funny thing is, Kotaku in Action has kind of become another weird wing of the intellectual dark web, as it were, associated with, like, you see a lot of positive, like Jordan Peterson type stuff in that community. The thing is, these days, people who are screeching about it usually are worth ignoring, because on the one hand, people are like, "Why? I just want to play video games. Why are we still talking about this?" The thing is, they're coming for you. Like, whether you know it yet, all the Star Wars fans cried out at once when EA released Battlefront 2, but like, they're coming for you. And it's the quote from Dietrich Bonhoeffer from discussing the Holocaust, that first they came for so-and-so, but I didn't care because it wasn't me. And then they came for these people, but it wasn't my problem because it wasn't me. And then by the time they get to you, there's no one's going to back you up, because and so that's the thing, is you just have to be aware of what's going on and make sure you're speaking the truth and make sure that you vote. I think the biggest thing with Gamergate was vote with your wallet, where everybody needs to understand what's going on and not to be taken advantage of by people who are like, I mean, you got what is it, Battlefield 5? They've got God Save the Queen on the back of the jackets on some of the skins, even though there was a king at the time. It's just like, it's just little stuff.
And the British soldier was a fucking katana.
You're sexist. I wanted it. You sold it as historically accurate, and she's a cyborg. I wanted historically accurate. You're just sexist. Cyborg? World War II. No.
You know what pisses me off the most about that shit? They're like, Battlefield was never realistic. I'm like, Battlefield 3 was marketed as like, it's so realistic, it's like real war. And now it's like, totally not. Look, it's a funny fantasy game.
Is that the one where they went through the airport shooting everybody?
No, that's Modern Warfare 2.
Which one was it?
That was Call of Duty.
No, it was a Battlefield game, I'm almost positive.
No, the airport scene was the mission no Russian in Modern Warfare 2. I'm pretty sure.
I have to check, because I don't think I own a couple of Call of Duty games. My son plays them more, but I thought, and I could totally be wrong. I thought it was Battlefield that I was playing where they had that scene. Like I said, I could totally be wrong. My son plays all the Call of Duty games, and that was the one I remember. I remember playing all the way through.
The reason all of this matters so much, and why I'm getting more interested, and why I'm learning art, and why I'm interested in the comic stuff, even though I'm technically not really a comic nerd. I was a huge fan of the Marvel movies. Like, Iron Man was my spirit animal for like 5 years. But the reason it's so important is for the same reason that people like Jordan Peterson became famous, is I don't know how much you guys know education-wise, but the classical idea in humanity is that the hero's journey is manifest in so many different ways, from D&D to Magic the Gathering to The Legend of Zelda. And that's the funny thing, is as the humanities in today's world, driven by all these neo-Marxist ideologues, are killing it off, one of the last bastions of the original ideas that are some of the most ancient and speak to the core of who we are evolutionarily and psychologically as humans is harbored in games. And so gamers don't realize it. I mean, gamers rise up. I mean, you can make the joke there all day. But the thing is, we're the accidental stronghold that is against what's going on. And so I think that was kind of there's the underlying philosophical meta-narratives and subconscious stuff going on under the hood when you see stuff like Gamergate explode and the Comicsgate drama where they're like trying to replace all the characters with women, and they're all in gender neutral, gender queer two-spirits. And you just have to have the courage to say, you know, I'm going to focus on what's been focused on for thousands of years and tell the story of, and I think telling those stories is what's so important, because that's how we pass information and how we retain it. I mean, that's why we spend more money on Hollywood than we do on anything else as a society and a culture. We put insane amounts of money into just telling a story and to giving just unbelievable amounts of cash and fame to people for just participating in telling a story. And that's why. And so that's why it's so important to do. And I'm really trying to learn how to tell stories with my kids as they get older. One of the things that my wife and I have started doing is we started our own little D&D campaign. So that's been fun. But she actually said the other day, even though she's very like, I can't draw and I'm not interested, she actually said, I think it was last night, where she was like, man, I really wish I could draw my character. And I was just like, because you see that it speaks to the core of all of us. And I think there's the artistic, traditional, liberal, left-thinking, creative types don't always understand what it is they're doing, but they engage in very important creations and very important endeavors. And that's one of the things I try and get through to people who are on the right, is how important it is that both halves of the brain are in our culture. And the problem is the corruption that's happened to it, that both sides hate each other because the left looks to the right as greedy capitalists, and they become that to some extent. And the right looks to the left as a bunch of insane people that are putting crap on a wall and calling it art, and to some extent they have, but that's not who we can be. We can be better than that, and I really think the best way to bring people together is, I think I've said this to Daryl at one point on Twitter, but the pen may be mightier than the sword, but the brush is even mightier than that, and that's why I have a lot of respect for you guys.
Hey,
Sad.
speaking of, what? I got called away, so I think I'm gonna have to call it, guys.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man. Hit me up next time, Dave.
Yeah, next time we'll have to definitely do one of these again. It's actually gone a lot better than I thought.
Oh man, but now. See, you put me on the spot because I told you I was going to ruin this thing. I ruin everything I touch. So,
oh, don't be so blackpilled.
Hey, you don't have to worry. I think we've maxed out at 4 viewers. So,
well, there you go. I can feel a little less bad about leaving then. But no, you guys have a good night. All right.
All right, you take it easy, man.
Hey, and Rob and Panzer, hang out with us again sometime.
Definitely.
This is fun.
Maybe we can get some viewers to tell us what they want to see. So
yeah,
absolutely.
All right, you guys have a fantastic night, and thank you for everything. And I will catch you on the flip side.
All right, we'll definitely do this again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I completely forgot what I was going to say. I remember you were talking about some of the left-right stuff.
Yeah, basically just the artistic mediums. I think the last thing I said was the artistic mediums are one way to really bring people together, because the brush is even mightier than the pen. There's just it speaks to people. You can't argue with a painting.
I think a lot of the middle is kind of lost in the conversation as far as the average person, because the loudest voices are going to come from the far left and the far right, because those are the screechers.
And you have to have a loud uniting voice in order to pull those sides back together, and it's very hard, because most of the people who are normal, average, everyday people who could do it are so scared by the politics, so they just want to stay out of it. They don't really want to talk.
A lot of them are scared, and a lot of them don't care. It's just like, look, all I want to do is I want to go to work. I want to get my paycheck. I want to pay for my food and pay for my house, take care of my family. I don't need to get into all this, Gillette thing or
right.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares about Comicsgate. I go to the comic book store and nobody cares about Comicsgate. I've never heard the word mentioned.
Well, that's good to hear. I've just seen somebody got fired from a major publication, and that scared me. And so you do see the crazy stuff that happens, but
yeah, and like a lot of that is the far edges of everything. Those are the loudest voices, because the middle people, as long as they're, and this isn't like, I know some people say, oh, it's because they're robots or they're drones or they're mindless or whatever.
NPCs.
Yeah. Well, no, it's more like the middle people, the people that don't get invested in the far right and the far left. To them, it's not that big a deal. They don't care about the Gillette ad. They're probably never seen it. They hear about it from somebody else, and they're like, oh, all right, I don't care. I gotta take care of my regular everyday stuff. I don't care about all this political stuff. And all that stuff comes from the fact that there's nothing bigger to worry about. Like in the 80s, they had, it was the Cold War, and you were worried about, the Russians were going to nuke us every day. I grew up in that era. So to that effect, people were more worried about that and less worried about constantly nipping at each other over little stuff. And now, since you don't have that big thing, everybody's like, okay, well, now I'm going to nip at each other over my little pickaninnies or whatever.
Well, it also gets into the decline of religion and belief systems more broadly, because because as you said, they've kind of flipped between one to the other. The flipping from the being concerned about everything to not caring. And I think what it comes down to is the sense of meaning and purpose that some of these people who get a lot of celebrity status and attention are, whether it's for the better or for the worse, people are looking for something to do with their lives. They're trying to look for something that is worthwhile. Mm-hmm. And in an economy that's making more and more difficult to and de-incentivizes settling down, getting married, and let alone having children, the you don't feel like you have a sense of purpose and why you exist on the earth. I mean, look at the suicide rates. It's no surprise. People don't know what they're here for and why they're doing it. At least as the decline happened, during the Cold War, at least they had something to be afraid of the future of the planet and the future of humanity. But now the more things become more comfortable, the more people just throw rocks at each other on the internet because it's all me, and they all have to have the latest and greatest thing, and everybody's miserable, and everybody's trying to look good in front of their friends, and that manifests in clickbait, and manifests in virtue signaling, and blatant dishonesty all over the internet, which probably metastasized into the whole fake news thing. But it's just people don't have a sense of direction and purpose, and that's why people in this whole intellectual dark web thing have been a lightning rod, because they're like, oh, here's an idea. Why don't we make this our purpose in life? And all of a sudden people go, oh, maybe I have something to live for. Maybe I have something to help. Maybe I have something positive I can contribute. And so you can empathize with the worst you see on the internet trying to get people banned, because at least in their own twisted way, they're trying to push the world to some crazy utopia. Like at least they have that going for them. I mean, sure, it resulted in millions of people dying in the past, but you can see that it's there.
Yeah, there's no overarching, uniting
narrative, exactly.
Or whatever that people can get behind. Everybody can agree that nobody wants a nuclear bomb to fall on their head.
Yeah,
and not everybody can agree about what's proper masculinity when there's nothing else threatening. Oh well, now we got to find something. We have to find something that'll that we can be mad at, because now there isn't something we can all say. Oh, the Russians and we've gone from, okay, the Russians, they fell. We don't have that to worry about anymore. Well, now what do we got? So it was kind of scattered for a while. And then for a while, 9/11 happened and everybody kind of united.
That's true. 9/11 did do a great thing. That's the sad thing, is why do we have to experience horrific tragedy in order to come back together?
But the problem with that, and I mean, yeah, it was great. For a while, everybody was like, yeah, freedom fries and whatever. But after a while, it's like, well, now you're racist if you don't like those people, quote unquote. If you think people in Saudi Arabia and Muslims or whatever, if you think they're bad people, then you're racist, and it comes right back to, because it all settled out because we didn't. I mean, we had that one big attack, and we had other things, but it wasn't so big where everybody was afraid of it. Afraid of us against them. It wasn't one big enemy, or at least the fear of that kind of died down. So then it was like, well, now you're racist if you don't like the enemy that we used to be afraid of, and that becomes part of the kind of social justice narrative. It's like, oh well, that's a race. Well, it's not a race. It's a religion, or it's this, or it's a lifestyle or whatever.
Yeah. That's definitely it. So if you're actually interested in digging into that, I can recommend books that are on my reading list. I can't say I've read them, but Jonathan Haidt's pretty. He talks a little bit about this in his Righteous Mind, and he's got another one coming out soon called The Coddling of the American Mind, and he's talking about like how we all think we're the good guys and they're the bad guys. That someone's the bad guy. We need a bad guy to go out and kill and destroy. And if we're not careful about the sense of meaning and purpose we give in our lives, we're going to put it on half the country and call them Nazis and go out in the street and punch them. So you have to know, you have to have.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying you have to have some kind of narrative to do with it. And so understanding what's led us to this. And so I'm really looking forward to reading his books. I haven't had the time to yet, but but he goes through in great detail, and he's actually he's pretty left-leaning. He's not somebody I would agree with on a lot of politics, but he's absolutely nailed a lot of the problems that we're facing right now. Even on the right, like it's not a partisan thing.
Panther, you're in Germany, right?
Yeah.
Is there I hear all kinds of stuff on the internet and stuff like that. What kind of issues do you have going as far as like the migration and all that stuff?
Is it as bad as people say?
I'm like in the school system, so it's like worse because I'm like, it's not college, but like the thing before college.
Right.
And we have so many immigrants coming over, that are like in my age range. They fill up all the classes and they just go to school so they get money.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
man,
a really
that's
big
gonna.
problem.
I don't want to be a catastrophe. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I've always had good eyes for the future, and that bodes really ill. No one's talking about that. There are going to be consequences of that, and
Yeah,
nobody
as
is
somebody
aware.
who is like
That's
half,
not even being talked about.
I'm half Arabic, so yeah, it's not pretty good. It's not pretty like seeing all those like not not generalizations, but like all those people who are just fucking lazy and making a fucking. My dad came over to like Germany like after 9/11, so it was like really hard to get like a not like visa, but like staying here.
Yeah, that's
And
understandable. I know what you're talking about.
yeah, and like he fucking worked his way like up in Germany. Like his degree didn't work here, and now we have all those people that just fucking sit at home smoking shisha and getting like checks because Germany's system for like social help is like so good that you can literally do nothing all day and still get like money. Not like good money, but like you can live with it.
Yeah, it's like welfare here in the States.
Yes, but
It's
like
worse than the welfare here in the States over there. There are welfare. We have people fighting against it, saying no, don't do that. And so there's some kind of halfway point. But over there, it's like you can make a killing doing nothing. Like you can live
not like
comfortably.
killing, but like you can live.
Maybe
It's like,
maybe it's not Germany, but there's at least one country over there. Maybe it's Britain, but there are some places where people are living very comfortably on welfare, and
if you have like
honestly
5 kids, it's pretty comfortable in Germany.
Was that for tax breaks and was it public service and stuff?
Yeah, like if you don't have a job in Germany, you get like your apartment paid for, like, and like if you have kids and all that shit, it's like pretty useful if like you get fired and get another job, and it takes like time. And like our healthcare system is like okay at best. But I live.
Is there like long waits and stuff?
What?
Like if you have an issue, like medical issue, is it like long waits? You get put on waiting lists and things like that?
Not really. You just have to sit like 2 hours at like a doctor sometimes. If you live like in an area with like a lot of old people, because Germany has the same problem as Japan. We don't have that many young people.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I've heard that it's kind of gentrified, so it's going to be really interesting.
At least you could go in like a city that's like half an hour away from me, and just there are like 0 young people there. It's just a retirement home at this point.
Yeah,
so Florida.
Florida, yeah. God's waiting room.
Yeah, pretty much. Hell's waiting room.
Yeah. Man, yeah, I've heard stuff like where do you I mean, I don't want to dox you. Do you live like in like a rural area or like a main urban area in Germany?
I live in like the region that's like near to Cologne, and like it's not like the fucking hipster part, but like the part where like all the coal mining happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the part that was like successful in the 80s now is fucking the biggest ghetto in the fucking universe.
Did they shut down? I imagine you said old coal mining. They don't mine there anymore.
No,
did they mine it out, or is it one of those things that like they just said, "Oh, mining's bad for the environment," kind of thing?
Yeah, they've invested a lot in energy, so I don't know what it's like over there. Can you tell us some about like what they're doing with energy and jobs over there?
Like
Germany?
Germany has like the biggest like love for like renewable energy. Like it's pretty good. Like I'm like somebody that really fears global warming.
I wouldn't worry too much about it.
I wouldn't worry too much about it.
But I don't live like in the States where like it's like a huge country.
Humanity's flipped out about the environment destroying us since like Old Testament times. Like that's the thing people have to realize is you don't worship the Earth. Like the Earth will be okay. There's a debate right now over it, but it looks like based on some things that have been some findings that there is a possibility that oil might actually be a renewable resource, that it actually might be producing more within the Earth's crust. We don't know much about those hydrocarbons and where they're coming from, but there has been some suspicions that even that is sustainable, that the Earth is actually handling things far better than anybody ever expected, and given a lot of the global trends over the longest periods of time with more accurate data, there's not a lot to worry about.
Some of the stuff I've read is if they got rid of every single car on the face of the Earth, it might impact the Earth's temperature like half a degree in 100 years.
Yeah,
something like that.
And then they'll go and try and explain why that's actually disastrous. And it's like, no, it's not. Sorry, no. It's not. I think one of the funniest things is the global cooling stuff from the 1970s, where the oil companies are bragging about how much of the icebergs they're melting, and it's hilarious. It's amazing how things have changed, but it's not something to worry about. I think the biggest thing in today's world is part of our communication and increasing and being able to do this and doing all kinds of things with the internet is the ability to push out and be successful with propaganda in political matters has become a lot more effective. And so you have to be very careful when you hear alarmist stuff. Whenever somebody says this is a reason to panic, whether it's global warming, whether it's border crises in America, whether it's the government shutdown we're facing right now, regardless of what it is, whatever health care, political issues, violence and crime, whenever somebody says panic, you have to kind of say, okay, why? Give me a very good reason and make it very convincing, because generally speaking,
when you
everybody
find
panics, so it gets clicks. And
when you find out who's behind all this global warming stuff, all this the climate's going to change. Climate always changes. When you find out who, like, the kind of stuff they're pushing, it's all the same people. It's all the same social justice warrior people. It's not about changing the environment or fixing the Earth. It's about control. They want to control you. They want to control how you spend your money.
They have control in their personal lives. They feel powerless, and sometimes that drives people into politics and into seeking power. And so it's not even just there are evil people who want power. The line between good and evil goes through every human heart. You have to understand that the worst people of humanity, the Hitlers, they're us. You have to learn to be able to look. Jordan Peterson talks about this when he talks about integrating the shadow that Carl Jung talks about. You have to know that we're all capable of good and evil. And as far as they're concerned, they're not in it for the power and control in a malevolent way. They just feel like, oh my gosh, the world is going to crap. What am I going to do? And usually the answer is stop spending so much money, find a more reasonable place to live, stop spending money on useless college degrees. But the thing is that our culture is not incentivizing that. And so a lot of these SJW types that are printing this trash on the internet, you always are never surprised when you find out, oh, she's single and has 4 cats. Why am I not surprised? Like it's always
selling nudes on Patreon while being funded by the state to work in a German version for BBC. Man. Yeah. I had like a point that I wanted to make. Like,
I always have points I want to make, and I always lose it.
Fuck, what was it?
Well, it's good practice. I think that's one of the reasons I'm interested in getting into this. I've been wanting to start my own YouTube channel, and I have one. I just haven't really started putting videos on it. But I want to really help people understand masculinity the way it's being taught by the few people who still understand it, because I think I'm starting to have a better idea than most, and we've got to protect it because it's the only thing that's going to get us out of anything. That masculinity advice. I mean, chapter 1 of Peterson's book is probably the reason I was able to solve my health issues and finally have kids after years of trying. And it's just you gotta.
Well, it's good.
Yourself out. We gotta teach what's good about boys and about men, and because the not teaching about it is what's leading to violence, is what's leading to the toxicity.
I'm raising 2 boys right now, and the thing is schools and culture now seems to be bent towards, Well, acting like a boy, quote unquote, is bad in general, and boys are wired a certain way. They're wired to act a certain way. You have to teach you what you can do is kind of point them in the right direction and to use that wiring constructively. Boys are going to fight and wrestle in that way. So we had this conversation in the beginning, but boys are going to fight and wrestle and do that kind of stuff because that's the way boys are wired. They don't necessarily want to hurt each other, but that's the way they learn to deal with each other.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah, boys are generally, like I said, we made this point earlier. Boys are generally, as a rule, 50% stronger than girls on a level playing field. You don't want those boys to be emotional wrecks, because that's when you get the kind of abuse and you get the kind of bad behavior. When you start telling them that acting like yourself is wrong, you can point them into saying, okay, this behavior, you point it this way, and this is how you can use that behavior constructively. When you start telling boys they have to start acting like girls, it's counter to their wiring. And that's why you get guys with emotional problems, with psychological problems. I mean, it's not the one-off,
It's
the magic pill. But it's a big contributor. If you start telling, you say boys will be boys, you start, well, boys will be boys. That's because girls will be girls. That's the way boys and girls are. They're wired a certain way.
I don't think I've ever brought this up on social media, but I'm actually, until my church severed ties, I was actually pretty high up in one of the biggest councils in Boy Scouts of America. I'm actually familiar with a lot of this, and the hostile takeover by meddling SJW feminist types, the pushing away. Because the funny thing is, I know it sounds stupid to say you need a safe space in the cliche jargon, but boys need a place where there are no girls because they behave differently. Boys, I mean, there's a. I swear I need to keep like an index of Jordan Peterson crap, but there's a real factor in evolutionary biology and psychology that men are judged by women, and that's what makes them shape up. But in order to to socialize and learn their place in the world and learn what's okay and what's not, they have to have girls off to the side. Otherwise, it's like stage fright. The boys behave different when there's a girl around than when it's just the boys. And as soon as the girl shows up, they're going to start behaving differently. And they've got to actually be able to fight out what's right, what's wrong, and who's the alpha male, and whatever else they need to work out. And so there's a time and place for both of them. And so while at the same time, boys and girls should play together, and there should be plenty of equality, and we shouldn't be excluding people from groups, there's also a very important need to have a place that boys can go to be boys, so that they can bend each other into shapes. They can knock each other in the head and without somebody going, "Oh, that was mean." They can, because you need both of those things in society. But in order for boys to be brought up, it's the same thing you talked about. Problems with people being with them being raised earlier, and the one thing that came to mind for me was the lack of the fathers in the home. And the one thing that everybody flips out about in politics that one side hides from is the fact that there is much higher black on black crime. And the reason for that is because they're more manly genetically, they have higher levels of testosterone and they're more manly. And the communities that are going to be the hardest hit are the ones that are genetically more manly, that don't have dads in the home. And so that's what's hurting. It's hurting everybody. But those who have more masculinity are going to suffer the most. And so it's really tragic to see, and it's hard because, oh, I'm a cis white male, what do I know? And so like you can't try and reach out and help people in need and offer good advice and try and be a positive influence without having to tread very carefully, because you get called racist or other things. And we need to figure out what it means to be men so that we can pass that on to this generation. So that's been my obsession the past year. I'm trying not to rant about it. Hopefully that's
what we need
into what you're saying.
What we need is not for a company a company or the culture to decide that masculinity is now different, because that's what they're pushing. They're not pushing that. Well, they are pushing that masculinity is bad, but they're doing it, and they're trying to replace it with something else. They're saying, look, this is the new masculinity. We talked about the earlier, I think before you came on, we talked about that PETA ad. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, they're trying, and the APA, is it the APA, is it American Psychiatric Association?
Yeah,
They did
Crowder
that thing
had Peterson
recently.
on it. Peterson was not happy.
Oh yeah, they're pushing that, and not only did the PETA ad come out, but PETA also pushed that. They're like, oh, not only did they push their, vegetables are going to make you more manly and make you more virile and all this other stuff. Then they retweeted that APA article. Yeah, and I looked at all those guys in that commercial. I'm like, I don't want to be like any of those guys.
I'm pretty sure I could beat up all of them.
Oh, exactly. They had the tennis player guy with the scraggly hair, and then a bunch of old guys, and then I had a couple of like supermodel type guys. But I was watching. I don't want to be like any of these people. Why would they? And the ad made no sense to me. I was like, all right, they're trying to push masculinity, but all the guys they're showing in the ad, no guy I know would want to be like these people.
That's because you don't. That's because the guys you know and the guys that PETA knows don't overlap. That's kind of what it is, and it's part of this culture war thing that we're becoming more divided as a country. Because I mean, for one, we've had to pick our own media sources because both sides are screaming fake news at the other side, and so it's getting harder to have reasonable conversations, even with coworkers. It's just ridiculous because they'll just accept at face value whatever's written on as a title for the Washington Post or New York Times or Huffington Post or what's the other one? Let's see, Wall Street Journal. And they're getting worse and worse. You've got the beauty pie thing going on with Wall Street Journal, and then you had the them taking down the heel stream. And I don't support the internet drama people. Like they're troublemakers. I stay away from them. But at the same time, like that wasn't fair to do to them. But everybody, they don't like us a Nazi, and now we're doing this moral purification of the internet and Tumblr banning all porn, which I'm very much against.
Yeah,
I've been very much against pornography, but so that's kind of an interesting. I'm an interesting person to talk to about that, and I won't get into it. But you can't just do this to the whole internet without there being consequences. I don't know what's going to happen, but I mean that's why for a while I was trying to push to get people on the Gab, but unfortunately it's only crazies at this point. So
yeah, I'm on Gab. At least I have an account, but I haven't really been on. When I can. Some of the people I used to follow, I know they got kicked off of Twitter. Are on Gab now, almost pretty much exclusively.
That's my ties, but unfortunately, just the mainstream people on Gab are a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and I'm not part of the radical right. I just they're you have to know
me,
how
and this
is what you're saying.
This is where they talk about alt right and stuff like that, and where eventually it comes around to a circle and they meet. Is to me, I consider myself pretty far right. I'm a constitutionalist, I guess.
That wasn't far right tradition.
Well, yeah, well that's what's considered far right now.
Well, you can't even self-describe that way because as soon as you use those words, they're going to say you're a white nationalist, to me, I'm also like, I'm as close to being libertarian as you can. I don't think drugs should be legalized. That's about the only thing keeping me from being full-fledged libertarian. Well, that's more centrist libertarian, so you're more on the conservative side, and that's understandable. I've actually changed positions on that in recent years.
It's a tough thing because ultimately, if you could do drugs in your own house without affecting other people, to me, that would be okay to me. I would be like, okay, you know what? It's your life, whatever you want to do. But then you have to deal with kids. You have to deal with leaving your house, driving around while you're high or drunk or whatever. And to me, that's where it's hard to draw the line. So it is better.
Really hard to draw the line.
It's better to me. It's better to just all right, let's leave all that stuff illegal. I mean, we've already got the alcohol, and I guess I'm not like an abolitionist or whatever, but I mean, I'm drinking right now, as a matter of fact. But I'm keeping it in my house. I'm smart enough to know no matter how drunk I am, I can't drive. You know what I mean? So to me, that's an easy call. But it gets more complicated, and people can't keep that stuff in their house. I wish they could. I mean, like I said, there's kids involved and there's, other people involved, and you decide to go out and do whatever you're going to do instead of staying in your home. Ideally, that would be the perfect situation, but that's not what happens.
Well, extreme libertarianism, and this has always been my big criticism of it, is the no man is an island is probably the best way to debunk most problems with the purists. Is a lot of times they're like, we need to not intervene with, yes, well, if we just pull our militaries away from around the world, the whole thing will collapse. Like,
yeah,
we did that in one country, and you still hate George Bush. So, so no, we can't. I mean, like, we can't. You can't just pull the rug out from under.
Ideally, my idea is leave everybody alone to do what they want as long as they don't affect other people. Unfortunately, that's not the way the world works.
Well, what you do is you do that to best of your ability, and then you work forward. But it requires morals in people. The thing with Adam Smith and the whole invisible hand in classical economics, you've got the his earlier famous work, Moral Sentiments, is supposed to be a prerequisite. That generally speaking, in order to have freedom, you have to be a moral people. You can't be moral. You can't just have a free for all without a moral system and be free, because there's a delicate line that has to be walked between control and not controlling. And whenever there's bad things that happen and people get hurt because there isn't a moral system functioning in place, people will cry for more control. And that's manifest in a lot of places. I mean, I can point to it anywhere. But look at any society, any country, any general place where the morals start to fall apart and people will yell for control. We've had a real problem the past couple of decades with not teaching business ethics in business and that being rooted out. And it's manifest in all kinds of corrupt business practices that underlie a lot of the drama that you see on the internet and stuff that we've just talked about. Gillette is one example.
Well, that's exactly what's happening on Twitter.
They're going to cry for control at some point. You can't boycott everything. You can't boycott all the toilet paper companies. I mean, at some point, you're going to have to. People are going to cry for control, and that's why a moral system is so necessary.
Well, that's basically what's happening on Twitter, or at least with Comicsgate. Is it's not enough that you just don't buy their product, or you don't look at them, or you don't follow them. They shouldn't be allowed to say what they're saying.
Right.
And that's what's going on, and that's
whether it's right or left,
like I said, I'm on the idea of, let them say what they want to say, leave them alone. I want that hard Nazi to have a voice. I want him to speak out. That way, I know where that guy is. I can look at him.
A closet Nazi. He's a closet Nazi.
I don't want closet Nazis. I want an open Nazi. That way, I can point to him and to my kids and say, "Don't be like that guy."
Sunlight is the best disinfectant. What if you get oh no, don't look, Timmy, that internet meme. It's too late.
If these guys aren't out in the open, how am I supposed to show my kids, look, that's a bad guy, don't be like that?
You have to have
if these guys are they talk about the dog whistling. Oh my god, I hate the idea of dog whistling. How come you guys can hear it and I don't hear it?
You know what that requires, though, is and this kind of is symptomatic of what you're seeing. It requires you to have confidence that your ideas are better than those ideas, and that you can articulate your ideas better than the Nazis can. And unfortunately, people don't, and so that's why we've ended up where we're at. And so this lack of competence in our society is really killing us.
All right, Panzer, I've heard that in Germany, and maybe this is a big myth, I've heard in Germany you're not even allowed to talk about Nazis, like the original Hitler, that kind of stuff.
You can, but you can't, say, I don't believe in the Holocaust, all the Holocaust was fake, nobody died, it's all made up.
That's forbidden. That's verboten.
Yeah, it's it's mainly a law.
Holocaust denial. Last I checked.
It's from the years after the World War, after Germany rebuilt, so nobody was no, Germany did nothing wrong. It was all the fucking allies. That's why we have that law. But Germany is actually pretty sensory. It's not worse than China, but they're pretty fucked up right now. They have no a law I could literally go to every Twitter account on fucking Twitter, press 2 buttons, and report everybody and they get instantly banned. It's pretty bad. It's like a war
Unfortunately,
against.
a lot of these Silicon Valley companies are in bed with some of the governments around the world, and so I believe it. I've seen enough. I mean,
It's like a law against slander.
The new game is, oh, I didn't violate your terms of service. Don't care. Like, what? What?
Hold well, yeah, that's what happened to Dankula today or yesterday.
Dankula. That's what happened to Sargon on Patreon. That's what happens to people on Twitter all the time.
They tell them straight up, you didn't violate our terms of service, but we're going to ban you anyway.
We're going to do it anyway, yeah. And where do you go? And so that's what Dave Rubin and Jordan Peterson are trying to figure out with their supposed replacement for Patreon. As someone who works in software, I can parse what he's hinted about pretty well, and it looks like they're going to be successful, but it's going to take a while. He was right when he said it'll probably be ready sometime this year.
Now, how do you fix the Stripe issue? That's my concern.
I don't have an answer to that. They said at least crypto is one thing, but you're absolutely correct that with MasterCard and Stripe, it all comes down to one set of people who are calling the shots, and so there's almost nowhere to go.
Yeah, it's a funnel. It's a funnel, and ultimately it comes down to the credit cards and the company that processes the credit cards, and I don't know how you replace them or at least offer an alternative.
Well, now that we found out that Patreon was being pressured by PayPal, was being pressured by MasterCard, like we're running out of options. But the biggest thing is just to not get blackpilled in any of this. This is the stuff that everybody freaks out about, and you have to stand up for what's true and be willing to take the consequences. And as some people have shown, more often than not, there are more positive consequences than negative. And so just having the courage to speak out. But anyway, to come full circle, that underlies a lot of my interest in a lot of the comics and art stuff.
Yeah.
Because art, and it's necessarily the conveying and creation of meaning. And so learning how to communicate in an artistic way, I really think will make a difference. I don't know if I become a famous internet comic 10 years from now, or whether I become a streamer on YouTube, or I don't know what, but I've got to, as somebody who's very technological, I'm a freaking robot when it comes to my manners and ways of thinking. I've got to open up my creative side, and so that's why I love Daryl and love to make friends with guys like you guys. So
I don't know. Do you follow? Do you watch Doug TenNapel at all?
I do not.
Watch Doug TenNapel's show. If you're into art, if you're into writing, he's I mean, he's a guy that did Earthworm Jim and some other stuff, and he's very creative, very artistic. If you see his style of work, it's kind of very cartoony, but I mean, it's really good. And he also is. You should really watch his show. He's very he'll talk about religion, and he talks a lot about masculinity and that kind of stuff. And he's very it's almost very structure. As far, he just did an hour video on story structure. That I'm kind of a beginning comic book writer, and he did this whole video about how he structures a story and how he does everything on note cards. He explains it really good. Yeah, you should definitely. Doug TenNapel is one of my favorite guys in the Comicsgate community.
Subscribe and notification bell. Sweet.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy. They call him Smug Doug, but he's really, that's because he makes no apologies for his beliefs. Like, whether you agree or disagree with him, he's solid on what he believes.
Oh, that's how you got to be. You have to have the courage to know for what you believe.
But he's very, at one time he can be very structured as far as how he does stories and all that. But at the same time, he's an artist, so he produces really good stuff, and he's definitely a good one to follow. I was on his show one time, and well, actually, I did a show twice. But one time it was like 3 a.m. or whatever, and he put out a little thing. He was like, "Hey, who wants to come on the show?" I was the only one that showed up, and I got to sit and talk with him. He's a really cool guy, and really, like I said, they call him Smug Doug, but he's actually a really nice guy, and he's a really cool guy to listen to.
I will definitely do that. I have him on my queue, so I will be checking out his stuff. I mean, I got to learn how to become more artistic. Autistic. I'm going to learn how to become. I've got to learn from people like that and people like you guys.
Yeah. And the thing is, you got to be. Everybody's like, "Oh, artistic. You have to be free and blah blah blah." And the whole idea of an artist is, that kind of free thinking hippie whatever. And it's not. And you can be business minded, and at the same time, you can be artistic. And people tend to think that those are two separate things. But if you're going to make something that you want to sell, even if you think, oh, I want to be really artistic, you have to be that kind of business minded at the same time. Otherwise, it's great that you're making all this stuff, but the way you improve is through. I mean, there's ways to improve, having people critique your work and stuff like that. But if nobody's buying your stuff, then you have to think to yourself, okay, why are they not buying my stuff? And maybe it's because I don't market myself enough. Maybe it's because my stuff isn't quality that it should be. And that's the kind of stuff that he sort of preaches, and it's really the kind of thing that Comicsgate as a whole teaches. It's like, it's great that you have good ideas, but if you're not making the quality stuff that, if the stuff isn't up to snuff, then it's not going to sell. And selling is how you improve. Because if you can just say straight up, all right, well, my stuff obviously isn't selling. Well, how can I make it more so it sells? That's kind of a benchmark. Well, if I'm making this much money, if I want to make more money, maybe I need to step up my game, that kind of thing, competition, and that kind of stuff.
Were you guys there for the outrage and controversy surrounding Cal Arts? I can't even remember what sparked it.
Now, from what I understand,
do you remember that though?
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
and from what I understand, Cal Arts gets a bad rap. I think Cal Arts as a school gets a bad rap, but because there's a lot more coming out of Cal Arts than just that kind of low quality whatever. That
one of Sargon's buddies got the school shut down with a tweet.
he got the school shut down.
Yeah, don't come to school tomorrow.
Yeah,
and he has like one of those.
He's a Brit, and he was in America. He'd never been in America before, or I guess had never shot a lot of guns or something. And so he was in America and had an opportunity to go to a gun range. Mm-hmm. And because he has a wicked sense of humor, he drew the stupid generic Cal Arts face on the head part of a shooting range target. And he posted on Twitter saying, "Some of you are all right. Don't come to Cal Arts tomorrow."
Oh my god!
But he calls himself an international meme terrorist now.
Oh my! How did he not get arrested?
Well, the thing is, the FBI looked into it and told Cal Arts that, or somebody, the police or somebody told Cal Arts when they basically got authorities. The authorities looked into it and found it was just a joke. But Cal Arts said, "We don't care," and shut the school down anyway. Oh my word! But they're
that day was pretty funny. I follow a bunch of people that are like people that would go to Cal Arts because I'm a fucking idiot. And anyway, that day I saw a bunch of people retweet like a post. That isn't funny. People could die.
Nobody's gonna die.
That's life.
It's like the people that tomorrow, it's like the people that freaked out because somebody had like a banana peel hanging from a tree. Did you hear about that one?
Oh, I didn't hear about that one.
There was some college where it was Howard University. Howard University. Somebody put a banana peel in a tree, and all it was garbage. But all of a sudden,
people of color.
Everybody thought it was some kind of racist whatever, and it was like somebody just and this is where they're messed up, and this is where the SJWs completely go wrong. They found the banana peel in the tree, and they said, "Oh, it's some kind of racist, whatever." The only people that would think it was racist are the people that would think that people of color are apes.
It's amazing. I know. It's so racist.
And yeah, that to me, that's the racism right there. Not the fact that somebody threw some trash in a tree.
It's amazing what you can see when your ideological lens distorts your worldview. I mean, you want to say you can't see the forest because of the trees. This is someone who can't see the forest because of the dust being carried on the back of the ant between the cracks of the bark. Like, it's ridiculous. It's like, yes, but what if? No, it's a banana.
Yeah, exactly.
We're crashing a tree. Like,
Sometimes a banana is just a banana. Actually, almost every time a banana is just a banana.
I'm sure the guy who put it there is the coolest monkey in the jungle. You remember that controversy?
Yeah. No, yeah. That was the guy in Florida.
No, that was like
What was
the
that about?
H&M store in South Africa or something that they were like fashion store, and this little kid was wearing the shirt that said that, and they were like,
Oh,
"Oh,
yes.
And his
Yes,
parents
I do
were like,
remember
"No."
that. Now I remember that. Yeah, the coolest
His
monkey.
parents were like, "No."
Why would you think that?
Mhm.
Oh yes, I remember that now. It's funny that like I said, they talk about dog whistles, and this is exactly what that comes to. Is this is dog whistle, dog whistle. How come they're the only ones that hear the dog whistle?
Thieves
Maybe
can't
is it not
trust
because they're racist? Oh, there's racial dog whistles. Well, then how come you hear it?
I love how all of those SJW types have like two black friends that literally don't care about that shit, and they're like, we need to protect them. They think like black people are another race at this point. Like they make a fucking sugar. Like, you can't say that word around them. It makes them uncomfortable. You fucking idiots.
Now, Panzer, do you see a lot of that along? Is there that SJW behavior or that thinking among like the kids in your school and stuff? Or
no, it's not. At least like we have some of them, but like they get made fun of a lot. Basically, the bully types.
Yeah, I try to keep my kids. I try to keep my kids not to be snowflakes. I tried, whenever like to not be oversensitive about stuff, and I'm afraid now it's going to get them in trouble later in life. I try to teach them like two ways. It's like, all right, one, don't be freaking oversensitive snowflakes, and at the same time, don't get in trouble by not being an oversensitive snowflake.
Well, it's not that. It's be secure in who you are, know who you are, what you stand for, and be someone with courage and with morals, and somebody who's not a coward, and someone who's not snowflake-like, but then have the wisdom to be wise as serpents but harmless as doves. Know how to learn to play the game and learn to tolerate it just enough to keep yourself from getting in severe trouble. And so know what you stand for, and know when it is or is not the right time to die on a certain hill. And so sometimes you have to just keep your mouth shut. And that's the thing when people talk about self-censorship, and a lot of people are very against it, but the truth of the matter is being unafraid to ever close your mouth is great, but that doesn't justify saying anything you could possibly think of to say. So sometimes crafting your own language to be more precise in your speech has a lot of value to it at the same time. And so while I'm rather free speech absolutist, at the same time, that doesn't remove our responsibility to be more careful and wise with the power that our words contain. And so
you need to pick your battles, basically, is what it amounts to. You need to know exactly when it's okay to fight and when it's like, all right, this isn't important enough for me to make a big deal about.
You're from my parents' generation. That's how they would put it. Yeah.
Like, not fucking screaming about somebody's picture, drinking milkshakes for like an hour. Yeah, that isn't a battle you want to fight.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's some stuff is just too small to worry about.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I don't know if have you been watching the Punisher show on Netflix?
Second season came out today, right?
And here in the States, it came out. Is today the 18th?
Yeah, it's 19th.
Today's the 18th. It's the 19th. It just turned over. Yeah, so midnight Friday. But it came out, and the big thing was, the big bad guy is a right-wing Christian. And there was a big deal about it. And lately, I've been like, you know what? They've been kind of overblowing that kind of stuff. So I watched the show. I'm on episode 3, and I'm really liking it. The bad guy isn't really, at least the way I frame him, people would call him a Christian, but really what he is, especially for these TV people, because they'll do all kinds of research into a lot of things, but they never do any real research into Christianity. The guy's not really a Christian. He's just a a Bible quoter. So that's what he quotes all this stuff. He doesn't reference Jesus. He doesn't reference any of Jesus's quotes. At least I'm on episode 3. I guess he goes to a church, but even the church, it's just people who quote the Bible just randomly, kind of.
You're just using the Bible as you write your script to find quotes for the bad guy. Like it's
exactly.
Like, I don't know what's in here. I'm just going to look for anything that sounds good. Let me search for it.
Exactly. So I can say, okay, they say this guy's a Christian, but he's not really, because he's the bad guy doing bad guy things, and he's just using and he's not even justifying it using Bible quotes. Really, it's just he kind of quotes kind of. I guess it's not randomly. I guess it kind of relates to what he's doing at the moment. But I can look at that guy, and he's a bad guy. He's an evil guy, and I can say, yeah, they're not really. I guess we haven't really gotten into his backstory to the point where I'm at. But at this point, it doesn't really bother me, because I can say, oh, they don't really know enough about Christians to make fun of Christianity or to use Christianity as the bad guy, because they just don't have it right.
And speaking of which, if you want to do that, go to Dank Christian Memes on Reddit, because there's some great stuff there. It's the one place where Christians and atheists can hang out and have a great time. It's a great place. They're very self-aware, and they're very.
As somebody that literally doesn't know anything about the Bible except like the things you like pick up in like school and shit, like the best fucking Christian villain like media that I like saw was like the guy from Castlevania season 1.
I've seen it. That's that cartoon, right, on Netflix?
Yeah, it's written by Warren Ellis. The guy, he wrote a bunch of comics. Mm-hmm. He's pretty good. Because it's in the fucking Middle Ages, the church is fucking crazy and like really like we need to burn some motherfucking witches. It's pretty good. You should watch it. It's like
I've seen the first season. I liked it. I haven't seen I don't know if did they come out with the third season. I know I haven't seen.
Second season is longer, but the animation isn't good, at least in my opinion. But I'm a fucking weirdo that.
A lot of times, whenever they want to reference Christianity or Christians, they always go to Catholicism, which isn't the same thing. I mean, it's similar, I guess. There are similar things, but Catholicism and I guess the difference is Protestants. It's not the same thing. I guess they're Christians technically.
This is where I keep my mouth shut, because I belong to a religion that's founded on the idea that the biggest problem with Christianity is Catholicism. So
yeah, and like I said, they're two different things, really. Because like as a Christian, I'm not a Bible thumper. I'm not as Christian, probably. I don't read the Bible as much as I should, but as a Christian, I don't do saints, I don't do the rosaries, I don't do any of that stuff, because that's not Christian. None of that's in the Bible. All of that started, I think, with like we're going to start getting into the weeds if I start getting too far into it, and then it'll get to the point where I really don't know what I'm talking about. From what I understand, it started with a lot of Catholicism started with Charlemagne. It doesn't go back to any of the apostles or Jesus or whatever.
You guys want to see some memes?
Absolutely. You know what? Can you carry the show for a couple of minutes? I got to go break the seal.
Sure.
It'll take me a couple of minutes. I'll be right back.
Okay. Robert or Rob, you talked about like videos and stuff about like creativity. You can see the chat. I linked some videos. It's like one of this Korean artist. He has probably the greatest mind of like a photography of all fucking time. He literally can draw everything from like his memory. He talks about like the creative process and how you should study like your environment, not just sit around in your room looking at like pictures for that shit. And the other one is with like Todd McFarlane, the guy that created Spawn, and how like how to do like business and comics, and how to push yourself and always say like, yes, I can do that, and not like say, I have to think about that. I'm coming back to you in like a week, especially at the start. Just fucking say yes. as someone who tries to be like a comic artist, like in his near future, at least for me, it's like really like was like a pretty good like thing to learn.
I'm definitely going to go through those. They look like they're really educational. This made me laugh because I've actually had this thought whenever I listen to if you can see the screen share.
Yeah.
But the atheists, when they accidentally say "thank God," because a lot of that kind of language you'll hear like people like Sargon use, people who are known atheists, and it's just funny to hear them say it. Just like, yeah, you say you're atheist, but then Jesus has to keep coming back up. So, anything else good on here? All right, I'm back. There's all kinds of stuff. I love Dink Question memes. Wait, PewDiePie? Why is PewDiePie?
Because he needs more subscribers. He's
Oh,
gonna lose against P-Series.
Of all the places, see, this is the thing with Reddit is it's such a big community. The
Reddit is like a big circle jerk sometimes, so and then I'm not really using it that much.
The Lord moves in mysterious ways, but you don't have to. Please use your blinker. I mean, there's a lot of it that makes fun. I mean, like the top post right now is the How to Write a Worship Songs bridge, and it has the guy holding the 5 pins right in the same words over and over. It is very self-aware. That it's. I grew up in the Bible Belt, American South, and now I live in Utah. But gosh, they are something else. So you've got the remember years ago. I don't know if they still exist, but you've got the Harry Potter fandom. You got the Twilight fandom. Like, it's like the Jesus fandom. Like, no, it's a religion. It's not just a fandom.
Yeah, it's not a fandom.
I don't understand the evangelical version of Protestant Christianity. It's just ridiculous. It's kind of obnoxious. But anyway, Dink Christian memes. If you like that kind of thing, it's funny whether you're a Christian or atheist because it does really hit it from both sides. It's pretty honest.
People that can laugh at themselves are.
It's a better atheist subreddit than atheism. Like, good lord, that place is a piece
Isn't
of
like r/atheism like full of FJ fucking W's? Like virtue signaling all the fucking time.
I don't know. There's some. I mean, I think most atheists are perfectly happy to keep to themselves like anybody else.
Right.
And I think that goes for most stuff. Most people who believe, certain things or whatever, generally, they're not out there, telling everybody what to do. Oh, my way is the best way. I mean, those are the extremists. Oh, there's no other way to do stuff. The people that I hate, and this is the big SJW thing, and it's a big lefty thing. There's probably people that do it on the right too. Is the whole idea, this whole attitude that if you don't like what I like, your stuff is bad. You know what I mean? It's like what I like and what the way I do things is the only way to do it. You're not allowed to like anything I don't like.
It's poor socialization. It's that lack of proper parenting in our society. I think it's gone further than just lack of fathers in the home. I think at this point you've got mothers having babysitters to work other jobs, and so we don't have a culture of femininity anymore. Those who are interested in really learning about some of these problems can look up Christine Hoff Summers, what she talks about, but they're just not socialized well, and it doesn't help. Here's this one: Fortnite servers may be down, but God is always up. A stupid church sign, but. Anyway, I'm going to shut off my screen share. But speaking of Fortnite, did you hear in the news? This was just in the news today that Netflix says it's more worried about competing with Fortnite than it is competing with HBO.
Really?
That's really interesting. So when we talk about Gamergate and Comicsgate, we talk about this creative, how the sense of meaning and purpose that things give people. That's astonished. That should tell you something when Netflix is worried about Fortnite. Freaking Fortnite. They're worried about their income being affected.
You know why?
What do they have in common? Think about it.
People wasting time playing Fortnite instead of using Netflix.
Ain't that the truth? It's because people are desperate for a sense of meaning and purpose. And so Netflix and chill is now Fortnite. Fortnite and more Fortnite.
Fortnite is like the biggest thing in the fucking world right now.
I don't understand. I'm more offended because I'm an old school Minecrafter. And
same. I used to make
Minecraft. It's Minecraft Hunger Games with stolen intellectual property from Blizzard and everybody else. Like all their skins are just stolen. And dances are.
It's really annoying sometimes.
It's like one of those questionable apps in the App Store. It's just like Clash of Soldiers. It's one of those. It's just forgettable, but people latched onto it because it just happened to contain an amalgamation of,
and it's free.
They liked.
And also it has like a progression system.
They charge people for things is ridiculous. I mean, you have to pay for it if you're going to get it on, like, say, PlayStation. People buy the non PC copies. But I played
like the Battle Royale mode.
So I know what I'm talking about.
Huge.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I've never been a big gamer. I mean, I guess when I was a kid, I got Nintendo and stuff, but I was never big into gaming. Right now, I'm playing that Spider-Man game, but I don't know. I never we tried playing Fortnite, and I just can't get into a lot of games now. Like I've played Call of Duty and Halo and things like that, and I like that kind of stuff, but. I don't understand I don't understand that the thing that took off from Fortnite was the dancing when you get to run around shooting each other.
I know
it's the first-person shooter game, and the thing that takes off is the freaking dancing.
Well, the things that take off are the things that we have in common as human beings, and I think being able to manifest Fortnite in your physical body language is why it took off. It's a meme thing. It's a psychology thing.
Mm-hmm. Guess how much money Fortnite made.
Memes have this tendency to hold on and to manifest truth in ways that we don't even know. Things that we don't know, we know. It's we talk about the Jungian subconscious between. So the whole there are known knowns and there's known unknowns and then there's unknown unknowns. You kind of have that unconscious thing of things we know. There's the flip side of there are things we don't realize that we know, and that's when memes come in. And usually they're references to our childhood or some pop culture. I mean, let me just flip through the stink Christian memes because I enjoy it so much I'm still here. So there's a Red Dead 2 Redemption meme. So these are all, the main theme is Christian stuff, but they have something else as a platform. Here's a Star Wars one. Here's a SpongeBob one. The ones that stick have what in common? What we all have in common as people, what we all know about. And I think that's why it stuck, is because Fortnite is popular. Somebody did the stupid dance. Some people looked at him like he was a moron. The other kids lose their ever-loving crap because they recognize it. And it's a meme. Now it's a meme. And so I think that's memes are a fascinating thing. It's the last good science done by Richard Dawkins, because it leads to places that he doesn't want to go, because it leads to the fact that there's an evolution happening on a psychological level, and you can get into evolutionary psychology. And if you're interested in the subject, the intellectual dark web people in question would be Brett and Eric Weinstein, particularly Brett Weinstein. But the memes are that evolution that happens within us, and so it gets kind of interesting when you start discussing that, because that leads you back to religion. I think he smelled it early on and went, oh, crap. And I don't like where this is going. It's like, yes, there are these memes that have developed and grown and evolved over thousands of years in forms of theology, and that leads you right back to where I'm not saying people have to believe in God, but you have to have a moral value system. You have to have some kind of worldview and something that you build on. And memes definitely tap into that. And so I mean, like, I'm flipping through here. There's Halo, Pokemon. Oh, what is this? Roblox. Oh, good Lord. And so it's every single meme there's something there where you've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Even the cringy ones with the impact font, or at least using pictures, like this picture of a wolf that I've seen on billboards. And this is a really famous wolf picture I think it's been on the internet for 15 years now. So,
it's like a Venn diagram. There's certain things where every stuff overlaps, and the two groups, they both understand it at the same time.
Right.
Like you get Christians that play certain video games or watch certain shows, and they're going to get the reference. So that's where the two, and then you get people who aren't Christians, and they understand that where the two meet, they're going to get because it's the same frame of reference.
Well, then what happens is then people look for somebody to go to who can help them close the gap whenever they're not catching the reference.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this Swedish kid named Felix Kjellberg. I don't know if you've heard the name. Decided he was going to do it rather than just doing his gaming streams. And subscribe to PewDiePie. So that's the thing, and it's what we have in common. And so there's so many subreddits dedicated to crossing that gap.
Am I the only guy on YouTube that's not subscribed to PewDiePie?
You should.
PewDiePie.
I have like zero interest in it.
Hold on, let me get my pitchfork.
I know who the guy is, but I have like zero interest in watching anything that he does.
He's mature. He's matured a bit in the past year or two. I've only around right before the T-Series stuff hit is when I subscribed to him. So I actually been along for the ride the whole time. But he's done book reviews and he's done a lot of stuff. And so whereas it was originally like being childish for fun and humor, it became a very self-aware form of it. And so if you actually pay close attention to his word choice and to the topics discussed,
Mm-hmm.
it's very much not childish. It's ironic childishness. And so he's actually, to the extent that he's matured an awful lot, but he still has that persona that he knowingly just plays dumb. To the point that he's got fake characters where he just calls himself different things that he's not.
He's probably no Jake Paul though.
No. The thing is, a lot of these YouTubers are plastic. They aren't honest about anything, and he's so down to earth where he'll just say he'll have things where he'll just say, I'll tell you to it straight, try and walk you through some of the controversies when people are attacking him. Just like, look, guys, like no, but he's very down to earth, and so some of it is stupid humor, but some of it's pretty good. He's very, very self-aware, and that makes for good comedy, and that makes for a lot of fun in anybody you're watching too, because he knows how. And I mean, his whole meme thing is just, this is a dead meme, we're done with it now. And so he tried to get people to stop talking and making TikTok memes, and he lost that battle. And so every time there's a new TikTok video, the biggest thing with PewDiePie is he's never stopped making the absolutely most insane clickbait titles, and so you don't pay attention to the title. That's the thing.
Well, yeah,
it's good content.
I kind of get the idea from before, but I don't know. I don't think I've ever clicked on any one of his videos.
He does clickbait backwards. So whereas most websites, they do their articles and their crap are just to get eyes and viewers, whether it's the leading institutions or whether it's BuzzFeed. He does it backwards where his titles are absolute garbage, but you open it up and you're like, oh, that's what the joke was about. But am I leaving YouTube?
Yeah.
Is this the end of PewDiePie? Just ridiculous stuff. So that's the one thing, is the biggest turnoff for somebody from the outside is like the titles of his videos are anti-clickbait.
Yeah, I have on Twitter the other day there was a clickbait article, and it was a silly little thing, and it was about some mother bear who abandoned her cub because they were swimming across a lake. It was this whole this story, and like an idiot, I clicked on it, and it was fun, and I clicked on it because the guy who retweeted it or tweeted the article had one headline, and then it's it tweets the article. The article had a completely different headline, and then I click on the article, and when I get to the actual page, it had a completely different headline.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, oh man. So then I went and I read through the whole article, and I was the whole time I was like, oh my god, I don't understand. And I read through the whole thing, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do a video on this particular article because I see this so often. And it was like, you get 4 paragraphs in before you actually get to the story, and then you get another 4 or 5 paragraphs, and you're still not really knowing what the hell is going on.
It's bad writing.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? This would be like a great video. I think I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna just edit this whole. The idea. I was with my kids and my wife, and I was talking about it in the car, and I was like, "This is ridiculous." I'm reading through every paragraph. I'm like, "Oh my god, just say this." Oh my god, and I was like, I'm doing a video on this. So probably sometime I'm gonna do that.
The one thing I would say to try and balance that is, in this hyper click based world, in order to compete, you have to do something. And one of the things that I've seen that does seem to help is I have seen companies where they have a slightly different title on, say, the Twitter post or whatever. And when you open up the article, the title's different. And what they can do is they can carefully craft the wording of titles for different platforms for different user bases. Mm-hmm. And so some of the most credible magazines that I've seen do that, where they'll have multiple variants on the title. But I haven't, for those who are super credible doing it, I don't see them ever being dishonest with it. And so it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Well, this particular one, and I have seen that. This particular one, and I know it happens a lot because I've seen it in other ones. It's on some little tiny garbage tier kind of clickbait site
where it's like, is this person stepping down? I think I think it's called Saved You a Click, but there's a subreddit I follow that basically does that, where it posts the headline and then just what it meant, and so it's just like.
What I used to do was, and I think I used to do it on Facebook all the time. It was the same kind of thing. Was I'd read the article, and then in the comments I'd be like, "This is a story," and I'd post like 4 or 5 sentences, and it's like, "This is what the story is about. Don't bother clicking on it. I read it for you." But with this one, like I said, the only purpose for doing this article was because there were advertisements every freaking, between every paragraph.
And it's also playing video.
Yes.
Don't forget that.
It slows everything down, and it's all it is you click on it, and then there's commercials and videos and stuff like that. That's exactly what it is. That's the whole purpose, is to get you, to look at the advertising. There's no it's one thing, even BuzzFeed, to its little bit of credit, actually has, even if the articles are stupid, they actually have a full article, and they have advertising and stuff. But some of these things, it's just super cheesy, super cheap. All right, yeah. we're selling advertising, and we're gonna get people to click on this article just to see your advertising. It's like zero effort into writing the article.
You know which website is the worst in that? Comic Book Resources, or whatever that website is called. And one comic book website that's really huge. They make the worst clickbait in the fucking universe. It doesn't make any sense at this point. It's just...
yeah, actually, I found very few of those comic books news sites are actually worth anything at all.
I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, what's bleeding cools like that? I don't click on the articles anymore. I see bleeding cool. I'm like, oh, I'm done. Nope, I got no reason.
Yeah, I've noticed. Have you ever unsubscribed from somebody on YouTube and then they still keep showing up in your stuff? It's kind of obnoxious. What is the deal with YouTube? Do they care? Come on.
Well, and then some guys I'm subscribed to, I don't get their notifications.
When you unsubscribe from something, it's like, you know what, I'm done with this. And they're like, hey, remember this? I was like,
I can see that happening when you click on the homepage, because maybe the algorithm still shows them in your views.
Later, I'm talking weeks later.
Oh, I don't know.
No, I can see what you're saying. Yeah, because of caching.
Yeah.
I'm talking about on a different machine weeks later. Like it's ridiculous.
That's why I almost always dislike videos that I like don't want to have in my feed, but I still like. I'm like somebody that watches a lot of YouTube because I don't have anything to do. So
Well,
I just
Go ahead.
just dislike, like when I watch like one of those videos like, oh, it's a review of like a game, I just dislike like it, so I never get like another thing to related to that game, especially when it's like a fighting game.
Oh,
You get like millions of videos. Oh, we're gonna analyze every fucking frame. I don't fucking care. And I'm probably gonna like leave in like a minute because it's like 6 in the morning.
yeah, no problem. Like
But
we've gone on. Let's see, we started this at 9 o'clock. Oh, I guess he's done.
I've got to go spend time with my wife anyway. It's Friday, and we've been so tired all week with the twins. We haven't
That's
had
no problem.
a chance to do anything in the evening,
It's past
like
midnight.
game or something.
It's past midnight here. I can
It's
totally.
around time, so I could go on longer than you could. So,
All right. Well, thanks for coming on.
well, thanks for having me.
We'll shut it down here. And are you on Twitter?
I am on Twitter. Have Daryl forward me to you because I'm no good at connecting all these systems. But me and him are good friends on Twitter. You'll find me as at PlasmaRob. I guess I could just say it.
What is it? At what?
PlasmaRob.
Plasma Rob?
PlasmaRob.
Okay. Yeah, I'll find you. I'll get you up there. Everybody else. There's like nobody in the viewers. All right. Hey, have a good. Thanks for showing up, and we'll shut this down. Thanks for everybody that did show up to the chat.
We'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't be. Yeah, I can't do this kind of thing weekly. I don't think, but we could do it every other week or something.
I'll let you know what I thought of those videos. All right.
All right. Thanks a lot, man.
All right. Talk to you later.
You have a good night.
Night.
All right. We're going to shut it down. Y'all have a good night. Everybody that's nobody here. And tune in to Indie Dave Comics. Follow me on Twitter. Everybody have a good one.